On. Thumbs up from there. Good evening, councillors, members of the gallery and those watching from home. I declare the resumption of our meeting of council open at 6:02 p.m. And as a sign of respect to the traditional custodians, I'd like to start today's proceedings by acknowledging the traditional custodians of the lands of elders past and present and emerging on which we celebrate today, and other Aboriginal people who may be present. Councillors, as we embark on the resumption of the meeting this evening, and in the interest of an efficient meeting, I remind you that the provisions in the Code of Meeting Practice that allow for motions to be put where no councillors wish to speak against an item, or we have had 2 speakers for and 2 speakers against. Councillors, a rescission motion has been tabled in respect to item number 12.1, affordable housing contribution schemes, flat rate contributions, points 1 and 3. In accordance with clause 18.12c of the Code of Meeting Practice, I rule that the business subject of the motion is of great urgency on the grounds that it requires a decision of the council before the next scheduled ordinary meeting of council. I now move a motion of urgency to have the motion considered at the meeting and be heard immediately. Thank you, Deputy Mayor Bingham, and seconded by Councillor Hernjack. So, our motion of urgency. Mr CEO, would you like to explain what we're about to vote on?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Councillors, just given the peculiarity of a rescission motion coming at a time when the meeting had been adjourned, you have a potential 3-step process before you tonight. Step 1 is a decision on whether this matter is urgent or not. If council considers this matter to be urgent, you will firstly vote on that, as the Mayor just indicated. If it's not successful, if that motion is not successful, the matter will be tabled at the December meeting. If it is successful, you will then go to the second step. The second step will be to determine whether the motion to rescind the original motion gets up or not. So that is purely a decision on whether the original motion, original decision ought to be rescinded, and if that is unsuccessful, the matter dies. If it is successful, you then, as part of step 3, will then debate the merits of a new motion to be tabled. So I just wanted you to be aware you have a potential 3-step process tonight. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Just a question. In relation to the motion of urgency, it does concern me that members of the public did not receive notice of that, and therefore members of the public with standing and interest in this matter may not be able to address on that issue. So therefore I think that should be noted for the public record.
Okay, we can make a note of that.
Excuse me, could I go ask a question, please, Mayor?
Question?
Through you, Mayor, to the CEO. Could you tell us if, with a motion with this process, members of the public would have another opportunity to comment on the item?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Councillors, if Council resolves that this item is not urgent and does not need to be dealt with tonight, the matter will be tabled at the December meeting, at which time anyone from the community could come and address that as part of the December meeting. The ruling comes from the Code of Meeting Practice. I, of course, understand that not everybody in the community will be intimately familiar with all the provisions of the Code of Meeting Practice. I just assure you, councillors, you are following the code.
Councillor Dillon, a question?
Yes, Madam Mayor, through you. The original motion just actually asked to go on public exhibition for the community to comment. Is that correct?
Through to the
Yeah.
the CEO.
Yeah. Thank you, Madam Mayor. In essence, yes.
Thank you.
Okay, so with this procedural motion, motion of urgency, all those in favour? Deputy Mayor Bingham, Councillor Williams, Councillor Beaujard, Councillor Grattan, Councillor Robins, Councillor DeLuca, Councillor Singh, Councillor Dillon and myself. Those against? Councillor Hernjack, Councillor Glanville, Councillor Harvey and Councillor Causey. Declare that lost. Carried. It is a long day, but we can do this. Okay, so
Sorry, just a procedural point for governance. I noticed when that popped up that it said that Councillor Robins was on a leave of absence, but she has returned from that. I don't know whether that needs to be corrected.
well picked up. Thank you, Councillor Glanville. Okay.
I'm sorry, is it possible to ask a question? I just can't see where in the motion it says we're going out for public exhibition.
Unfortunately, that item, although we've been provided copy of remaining items on business for the resumption of 18 November, it hasn't been provided. So perhaps if we could get the original motion, the original recommendation from the council staff. No, not on mine. Oh, thank you. Can I take yours? No, I've taken Bob's. Thank you.
Okay, I think we've got to the bottom of that, have we? Or everyone's looking at the right papers?
Yeah.
Madam Mayor.
Okay.
Point 3 on the original agenda is exhibit the draft amendments to the Affordable Housing Contribution Scheme together with the planning proposal following a gateway determination. Note the outcomes of the gateway determination and public exhibition would be reported to council.
Excellent. Okay, so we're all on the same page, literally now? Okay, so are we all clear that we're voting on voting for or against rescinding points 1 and 3 and retaining points 2 and 4? Councillor Hernjack.
Just checking that as the mover of the rescission, I'm able to speak to the need for a rescission.
Yes, you can.
All right. Thanks, Mayor. The compromise outlined in the alternate motion before councillors seeks to deliver exactly what the community, the landowners and the developers are asking for, certainty. By giving developers a profit incentive to get their DAs in and the shovels in the ground, we will speed up the delivery of housing stock in the Frenchs Forest Town Centre and ensure that we secure long-term outcomes for our essential workers. We know that money talks, and if developers know they can save 2% in contributions to council by getting on with the job of building, we will get positive outcomes far quicker than if we leave it at 3%. We know that when developers have a chance to save a buck, they'll jump at the opportunity. The big concern I have with the original motion and the reason for this rescission is that developers will have no reason to start building now. Sure, the contribution will be lower, but we all know that that's just one of the many factors that influence the ability to get construction underway and make local development so challenging. With a 3% target, I fear that developers will simply land bank or hold off purchasing land from residents who have faced uncertainty for so many years and instead speculate on the cost of building going down, or perhaps even waiting for a more sympathetic council to reduce the contribution even further. 3% of nothing is still nothing. I urge councillors to pass this rescission motion so we can have a collaborative discussion around how we can strike the right balance for our community, who want our essential workers to have a place to live nearby, landowners who need and deserve certainty and the ability to move past this, and developers who want to increase local housing stock. All of us have seen the many emails sent in to us over the last few days, and I truly believe that we can come to a consensus position that aims to align our contributions with our strategic aims and deliver the best and most equitable outcomes for our community. Thanks.
Okay, thank you. Just so that you're aware, we're voting on this. Councillor De Luca, is it a question?
No, it's to speak against.
Okay. Just so that you're aware that we are voting at the moment to rescind points 1 and 3. If this gets up, as if the rescission motion is supported, it means that this will go back into debate next month.
Could I just get
Councillor
a
De
point
Luca?
of clarification? I thought it was the case that on voting for a rescission, only the mover speaks to it, and if the rescission is granted, then debate can occur and people can speak for or against.
Okay, I've got your thoughts, I've got someone else's thoughts, and then we'll get the real thoughts, which is our Coda Meeting Practice Bible.
That would be great. Thanks, Mayor.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, and thank you, Councillor Hernjak. We're just double checking there. There is no debate on the urgency motion. There is debate on the rescission motion.
Could I ask a question on that, Madam Mayor? Is 3 years the CEO referring to section 16.10 of the Code of Meeting Practice, which says, despite any other provision of this code, only the mover of a motion, I'm reading dissent, sorry, I shall go away.
Okay, you withdraw that comment. Councillor De Luca.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I speak against the rescission motion in that councillors have received an overwhelming number of emails from landowners and residents over the last few days pleading with us to reject the rescission motion. Those affected have clearly articulated that they are suffering. They are suffering uncertainty caused by delay. They have great concern with the proposal to rescind the 3% and go to a higher levy. This council, as I have said, if it is serious about facilitating affordable housing, it will not rescind. The recommendation of both council staff and independent experts, and it will continue on with that recommendation which was adopted based on independent advice. No evidence has come before us from the mover or the seconder of the motion that would cause a rescission motion to be needed and triggered. So I ask all councillors in this chamber to have sympathy for these long suffering residents and landowners, and I'm going to borrow a Michael Reagan slogan here, let's just get on with it.
Okay, so I picked myself off the floor here. Okay, I can see that there's a whole heap of councillors putting their lights on. Councillor Glanville, you were next.
Thanks. I'm going to speak in favour of the rescission. I think we've received emails that I would broadly say are about 50-50 on this issue, and that to me suggests that there is need for us to consider this further. When we get emails and half of the community is saying one thing and the other half is saying something else, I think that prompts us to revisit it and make sure that we're getting the answer right. I'd particularly say that the emails that we've received in support of the rescission have disproportionately been from people who are young, people who have grown up in the Northern Beaches and have a sense of hopelessness about affordability of housing in the area that they've grown up. We have put a proposal forward that we believe is a compromise that is intended to provide certainty. It's intended to provide an incentive to developers who get on with the job and put in a DA in the next 3 years, and also to reflect the feedback which has been that 3% is not ambitious enough in the forest, given the proximity of the hospital and the desperate need for more affordable forms of housing for key workers working at the hospital. In terms of the evidence and whether this is feasible, that's in the report. The report talks about at the different percentage points of affordable housing contribution, the different number of properties that would be feasible to develop. At a 5% contribution, even on the numbers in the report, there would still be some 2,000 properties in the Frenchs Forest area that would be viable to develop. Yes, it might be a slightly smaller number than if it was set at 3%, but it's not zero. It's not unfeasible to have the contribution set at 5%. And furthermore, developers can pay only 3% if they get their shovels in the dirt. And they don't even have to get the shovels in the dirt. They just have to have the DA lodged. That's the compromise proposal that we've put forward, is to get the DA in within the next 3 years. That is plenty of time to put forward a DA. It doesn't need to be determined in 3 years. I'd also point out that I think some of the cost assumptions in the report don't reflect that the Frenchs Forest area has lower project costs than other parts of the Northern Beaches. And again, I'm only pointing to numbers that are in the report itself, that the cost to develop in the Frenchs Forest is lower than other parts of the Northern Beaches. And as such, I'd put forward that that is part of the rationale for why it can carry a higher load of affordable housing. So given the community interest in this, I think there's further debate to be had, and I would really like to have that discussion with the community about the type of community that we want to have and what is feasible, and looking under the hood at the numbers. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Grattan.
Thank you, Mayor. I'm going to vote against this rescission motion. So last week I did support the amendment that had the 5% in 36 months' time. I thought that was quite a neat solution. We've all had a lot of correspondence, but I also had an interesting conversation with a resident who had done a deep dive into the attachment booklet and spoke to me about a similar point, Councillor Glanville, about some of that methodology. But at the end of the day, I'm not inclined to support rescission motions. We made a decision last week, and this is a decision to go on public exhibition, as Councillor Dillon mentioned. Once the work is finalised, we will have that opportunity to have all of that input from the community before this comes back for a final decision from us. So let's get on with it, as Councillor De Luca just mentioned.
Procedural motion, Madam Mayor. Move that the motion now be put. You've had 2 for, 2 against.
Okay. Procedural motion's been moved that we put this to the vote now. All those in favour? Councillor Bingham, Councillor Williams, Councillor Bourgeard, Councillor Grattan? No? Okay. Councillor Robins, Councillor Giltman, Councillor De Luca, Councillor Singh, Councillor Dillon and myself. Those against, Councillor Hernjack, Councillor Hackman, Councillor Glanville, Councillor Harvey, Councillor Grattan and Councillor Causey. It's carried. I'm going to wait till it tells me now. I'm not going to guess. Okay.
And I
so
was the
councillors,
seconder of the procedural motion.
All right. All those in favour of the rescission motion? Councillor Hernjack, Councillor Hackman, Councillor Glanville, Councillor Harvey and Councillor Causey. All those against? Deputy Mayor Bingham, Councillor Williams, Councillor Beaujard, Councillor Grattan, Councillor Robins, Councillor Giltman, Councillor De Luca, Councillor Singh and Councillor Dillon and myself. Do you want me to do it again? Okay, sorry, we were a bit too quick. Okay, all those in favour of the motion was Councillor rescinding the motion. Hang on, I've just said the wrong thing. The rescission motion. Okay. Councillor Hernjack, Councillor Hackman, Councillor Glanville, Councillor Harvey and Councillor Causey. Those against? Deputy Mayor Bingham, Councillor Williams, Councillor Beaujard, Councillor Grattan, Councillor Robins, Councillor Giltman, Councillor De Luca, Councillor Singh, Councillor Dillon and myself. Declare that lost. Count 12.3. Councillor De Luca, I think you
Thanks,
called this
Madam
one
Mayor.
out. Are you moving
Yes.
it as is or?
I'm moving as is, but with an addition which has been provided to the clerks at the table.
Our seconder is Councillor Singh. He had his hand up first, sorry. Councillor Glanville, if you
Yes,
had...
I just wanted to foreshadow I had an addition, but I expect that the mover will actually accept it because it's hopefully not. Are we able to?
Okay, Councillor
What
De
is
Luca,
it,
would you like to
Councillor
look at the
Glanville?
addition?
I'm hoping that governance should have it, so I'm just hoping they can put it up.
Maybe make it a number 4. A 4 and a 5.
I'll just briefly explain. We resolved to create a strategy with an existing resources, and I didn't feel personally that the report spoke to that strategy being developed beyond seeking a grant. So that's the rationale for that extra point.
Yes, I'm happy with that.
Okay, so the mover and seconder are happy with additions? All right, Councillor De Luca?
Thanks, Madam Mayor. As we all know in this place, this is a long-running issue which will continue to plague us for many more years unless the state government acts and unless we can increase under our existing budget enforcement. We heard from former councillor Karina Page at the last council meeting just how many trailers, boats, caravans are being parked well in excess of the 1 month period in certain areas, and the need to actually take enforcement action after the set legislated period. We also now find, particularly in DY, people opting that it is easier for them to store equipment in trailers rather than get higher facilities, and that's now plaguing areas, particularly the Crescent DY, Carew Street DY, and that really has caused safety issues on such narrow streets. So it's not just confined to those areas, but the safety risks have been witnessed across the northern beaches. This is something that we as a council, I think everyone agrees, we must act to ensure safety, but we must also ensure that our staff are provided with as much information as possible and as much power as possible. And they are somewhat sometimes fettered due to the ambiguity, I should say, of the state government legislation. So this just aims, I congratulate staff on the proposal to make a submission to seek legislative reform, which we have done now on numerous occasions. However, I think enough's enough, and we must make a stance on this. Otherwise, we will continue to see significant safety risks on the northern beaches. Ocean Street is particularly of issue at the moment with the proposal by Indigo, Indigo by Moran. That street is already clogged and chaos with traffic, and it is only going to get more so as development goes along. And that is one of the reasons why this council and its planning department have lodged an objection. And so I just wanted to remind everyone of just that recent local fact. So I hope all councillors will support this motion, as I do think it is in the public interest.
Okay, thank you.
Madam Mayor, procedural motion. I don't believe there's any dissent, so if there isn't, may the matter be put.
Anyone have anything to add? Against? Right. All those in favour? Declare that carried, unanimous. Thank you very much.
A quick point of order, Madam Mayor. I think we have to vote on the motion that it be put before we vote on the motion.
Sorry, yes, okay. Second, we don't need a seconder, so that was unanimous. All right, now we vote on the motion. Everyone, unanimous, thank you. 12.4. Councillor Grattan, you pulled this one out. Are you moving as is?
Yes, thank you, Mayor.
Okay. Seconded by myself.
Thank you. I was just going to speak very briefly to this motion. A few years ago, we had a workshop amongst residents of Manly Vale, a working party. It was during COVID, actually. A lot of this time was spent on Zoom. And we came up with all sorts of plans and quick wins to try to help with the amenity that is Manly Vale, only to everything that we were told was no, no, no. And the only thing that was agreed to was a sign saying, "Welcome to Manly Vale." And Councillor Bingham, wasn't it a wonderful sign?
It's a beautiful sign.
And it lasted a month. Yeah, after a month, it was stolen. And that was the end. So we are still talking about the end. We're still talking about Manly Vale in particular here. And I'm grateful that the planning team, the strategic planning team, has identified that, yes, indeed, Manly Vale needs a bit of a plan. The low mid-rise housing reforms are going to start applying where we don't have a strategy at the moment for how to make that a more livable town centre, and there's opportunity to do that. I am disappointed and frustrated. It is A, going to take so long to get us started, and B, that it's going to cost so much to create a plan, the best part of $1 million. And then the same sort of funding required for Forestville, which was the other sort of key area that's a gap at the moment. You know, I guess it's going to cost what it costs, why we need $50,000 probity advisor every time, and whether the costs are for additional staff or not. I guess we just need to get onto it, but I'd just like to encourage the team, the staff team, to try to pursue grant opportunities to bring this forward. At the conference over the last couple of days, we were hearing from the planning department that they are open to getting planning proposals and strategic pieces of work to help progress, and that they're happy to take those into account when they're looking at some of these proposals coming forward. So let's get on to it, but can we try and do everything we can to find some additional funds to help us progress this more quickly, please? Thank you.
Okay, Councillor Causey, are you asking a question?
No, I'm just...
Okay. All right, just hold off for a moment because we've had the mover say something. So as a seconder, I'll add something and then we can move into debate. I think probably the same way as Councillor Grattan. I do think that maybe we have to be careful about what we wish for and how we term it, because as soon as we call anything these days some kind of place plan or plan, it goes out there into the ether and, correct me if I'm wrong, Mr Farrington, but it appears that most of New South Wales at the moment, every council is working diligently and employing every person they can find to work on plans for their individual council areas. Am I about right on that? Hence the fact that the costs are the way they are. But there probably would be ways to think of things differently other than maybe a place plan. But we know that we've got certainly problems out at Forestville that will overlap with Frenchs Forest as town centres. This is going to change the face of the Northern Beaches, as LMRs are going to all over the place. So, yep, I'm very happy to take this into a discussion of what we would like to see at the end and then work our way through that. All right, Councillor Causey, I had you up next.
Actually, could I ask a couple of questions, please?
No, we've moved through. Yes. Sorry, let's go for questions. I know we're doing this the wrong way around, but anyway, you should have asked questions when I asked.
Okay, sorry, I hadn't thought of it then. But so what I'm just wondering, the Mona Vale Place plan was paused to get a traffic study. I'm just wondering if we could get a copy, if I could get a copy, if anybody else who's interested in it, get a copy of that traffic study that was to be carried out.
Okay, so you're talking about the Mona Vale Place plan?
Mona Vale Place plan.
Okay,
which
so
is
can I just
referenced in
rule
this
that
document.
question out of order
It's
at the moment?
referenced in this document, in this report.
But this is actually discussing two other areas.
It actually
entirely.
refers to Mona Vale.
It refers to a whole heap of different areas, but I can certainly suggest you can ask offline and I'm sure it would be shared.
Sorry, I don't understand why that question's been ruled out of order.
Because
when
at the moment
this
we're
is-
talking about place-based investigations for Manly Vale and Forestville.
The report refers to Mona Vale. and the
Yes,
Mona Vale
as it
Place
does with
plan.
about 9 other areas. Yep.
So presumably you could ask questions about the other 9 areas.
Well, you've asked the question in the wrong order for a start, but it's something you can easily request as staff. All right, does anyone else have anything to debate? Then can we put this to the vote?
Well, I do have a point to make.
Okay, so now you're in debate, Councillor Causey. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay, you're speaking for or against?
I'm speaking for, but I would like to make a comment about the Mona Vale Place plan.
Okay, so
Which is part of this report.
Sorry, point of order. Can councillors please be asked not to laugh while other councillors are speaking?
okay, could you apologise, Councillor Williams, for laughing? I know we've had a long day. We'll just mosey on right through it. Okay.
I apologise, Councillor Causey, for laughing.
There we go.
That's fine, thank you.
All right.
I just want to make the point that this report says that the Mona Vale Place plan is due in the first half of 2026, and I'm just hoping it really will be due then, because there was a motion passed in 2013 to commence the plan. It started in 2014. The consultation was carried out 2014, 2015. The final draft was ready in 2016 to be presented to the council meeting just before the amalgamation occurred. I have a copy of that complete draft at home, so I would really like to find out what's happened to that traffic study and hope that we can get that place plan bedded down fairly quickly, because I do understand that there are other centres, these 9 centres that are going to be the focus of a lot of development. This is one that I would have thought we could get done fairly quickly. Thank you.
Okay.
Procedural motion, Madam Mayor, that
I was
matter be
going to
put.
say, if no one else has any statements, debate or questions, we can put this to the vote. All those in favour? Declare that carried unanimous. Councillor Causey, were you moving as is or did you have questions for 13.1, the lands dealings policy?
I had an amendment that I sent to staff for the previous meeting.
Okay, and your seconder is Councillor Hernjack?
Could I please foreshadow the original recommendation?
You can. Okay, do we have any questions? If we don't have any questions, then can the mover, Councillor Causey?
Yes, so I appreciate the effort the staff have gone into exploring the issue of council land dealings and also the recent property workshop for councillors and also the set of draft land dealing guidelines that we were sent. However, I remain uncomfortable with this proposed policy because it sets so few parameters as to how land dealings should be carried out. I believe community feedback on this policy supports this view. Staff have sent me a copy of the legislation that allows the acquisition or disposal of land to be made only after a council resolution. I acknowledge that. However, this is such a complex and sensitive issue that it seems to me we need a set of guidelines approved by council to make sure the process, when applied to significant parcels of land, is carried out with absolute propriety, meeting council and community expectations. This is a strategic concern. Those guidelines, in fact, which exist in draft form, were sent to councillors and were discussed at our property workshop. The guidelines are excellent, citing objectives such as achieving best value, promoting equity and transparency, ensuring accountability and maintaining flexibility. They include points such as the need for confidentiality at times due to legal, commercial, privacy or safety concerns. And they include a long procedures list that lays out actions such as the need for reporting to council, the property committee and or the CEO at times. Seeking independent valuations and undertaking public notification. The problem is that these guidelines could be altered without council approval with the policy as it stands. It's for this reason that I would like these guidelines included as an annex to the policy and ask councillors to support this. Thank you.
Okay, questions, Councillor Glanville, is it a question?
No.
Okay, so
I do.
you have a question, Councillor De
So
Luca?
just arising out of that amendment/addition, was that actually the guidelines, the land dealing policy and land dealing guidelines? So the land dealing policy was put on public exhibition. Was it actually exhibited to attach the land dealings guidelines as well? Was that put out on public exhibition?
Through you, Mayor Hines, the guidelines under our new policy are not adopted by council, so weren't distributed as part of the public exhibition process.
Thank you. So in view of them not being adopted, would that therefore be out of order to put them on a document when they haven't received endorsement of this council?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Councillors, there is no problem annexing guidelines to a policy. You would just need to be aware that under the policy you adopted for the administration of policies, that the guidelines are prepared to guide staff on how to do something. So you would be approving, council, if you were to adhere to your policy, you would be adopting the policy, that is a decision of the elected council. The guidelines which can be attached are not adopted by council. They are amended from time to time by staff to assist in the administration of the policy.
So, in view of your answer, and I thank you for that answer, does that mean that every time there would be an operational change to those guidelines, you would not have to update them on every occasion and make that public and notify the public that you have changed those guidelines?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. No, I mean, if the guidelines are updated in terms of the operating instructions for staff in how to administer a policy, the updated guidelines can be annexed to the policy. The key point, councillors, is whether you are adopting the policy itself. That's your
Role.
position. And if you want to bring extra public understanding to how we administer them, the guidelines can be annexed. But no, we would not bring them back every time that they are periodically updated. So, for example, sorry, Madam Mayor, for example, it may be that the guideline directs staff to follow this process or that process internally, and we would just update that as necessary.
I'm not saying bring it back to council, but you would need to update that annexure each time an operational change has been made and notify the public of that change at least, or have some type of tracking to show the public that a particular guideline has either been changed or introduced. Is that not the case?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Yes, apologies. Yes, we would do that.
So if I just go back to Councillor Cawsey's original reason for adding this to the policy, my understanding was you saw this as some extra information for the residents to understand that the policy also has the guidelines guiding it.
No, actually, I'm sorry, this is, I have talked to staff about this. My intention was that issues such as in the procedures list about reporting to the property committee, reporting to CEO, those sorts of things should actually be part of the policy, and so they would need to be, and I thought as an annex, that could be the case, that they would be included and they would have to be amended. And the reason that I can't debate it, but that was my intention. So.
Okay, so Councillor Robins, I had you next. Are you asking?
Just a question. It was following on from Councillor De Lucas, but I guess it's following on from what Councillor Cawsey just said. So does that mean the flexibility will be taken away to update the guidelines because it will then be joined to the policy? Is that what? Cawsey said that was correct. So.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Councillors, if it is your intention for the commentary that exists in the guidelines to be council policy itself, then I would suggest that the amendment, the point 3 be explicit about that. Councillors, I do refer you to council policy NBPO1, which is essentially the policy on policies, where council has resolved to set a hierarchy of policy documents. You have policies adopted by council, the strategic position of council. You have adopted determinations to be those internal facing documents, for example, human resource guidance for staff. And then thirdly, in the tier of your governance documents, the policy talks about guidelines, and they are essentially operating instructions for staff. So if you believe the operating instructions for staff ought to sit as a strategic policy document, then you would need to be clear about that in your motion tonight.
Councillor Beaujard.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Through you to staff. Do we have any other policies in council that have staff guidelines attached as part of them?
Through you, Chair, not that I'm aware of, no.
Could I move an amendment
Councillor De Luca, what's your amendment?
that we revert to the original recommendation of the council officers?
Okay, so you're foreshadowing.
I may as well move it now as an amendment,
Okay.
just to, in the interest of time.
I'm sorry, I'd like my amendment to be voted on.
Okay, so we've now got the amendment. Seconded by Councillor Grattan. Yep. Councillor De Luca is the mover.
I don't think this needs much debate. The report was pretty comprehensive and I think everyone understands it.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Grattan. Okay. Councillor Causey.
Yes, okay, so we have $6 billion worth of property, of assets on the Northern Beaches, and as a council we are responsible for those assets. We've had one situation since I've been on council where a property issue came to council that had not been identified with councillors as far as I was aware. I'd certainly not heard anything about it before it got to a council paper. I believe that when we are handling lots of property that are often millions of, often they're small little patches, but we have proposals for properties worth millions of dollars for sale of properties. I believe that there needs to be a little bit more oversight than if we just wait till the issue lands on the council paper for our approval. So my suggestion is that we include these guidelines in the attached to the policy and that they would be voted on at any time that they're changed. They're not particularly extensive. I can't imagine them changing too often. So personally, I don't see what the issue is. And I don't see, this is such a significant issue that I believe that we should be prepared to put a little bit more detail in our policy and have a little bit more oversight than perhaps on what we're doing with the playing field. So, yeah, that's it. Thanks.
Okay, thank you. Does anyone else have anything to add or can we vote on the amendment? All right, all those in favour of the amendment. Councillor Bingham. Yeah, we're voting on the original, on the amendment, which was the original motion. Okay, Deputy Mayor Bingham, Councillor Williams, Councillor Hackman, Councillor Beaujard, Councillor Grattan, Councillor Robins, Councillor Giltman, Councillor De Luca, Councillor Singh, Councillor Dillon and myself. Those against, Councillor Hernjack, Councillor Glanville, Councillor Harvey, Councillor Causey. Declare that carried. Now becomes the motion.
Thanks, Madam Mayor. I had a separate amendment, although the mover may accept it if governance can put it up. I'll briefly speak to it. I think we all know the property that shan't be named, where I think we all learnt a lesson about how we engage with the community before advertising property for sale that it's owned by council and the Sydney Morning Herald. Part of the feedback that we got from the community in the consultation was that they were looking for us to embed appropriate community engagement in the policy. So that is what this is directed at, is just adding a further policy principle, embedding that principle of community engagement.
Councillors, is there any objection around the table to that? Okay, there being no objection, I'm happy to include that.
Councillor Grattan, seconder, you happy too?
I was just going to double check with staff about whether there's any perverse ramifications of that.
Through you, Mayor Hines, the phrasing is to do appropriate community engagement. We would always intend to do appropriate community engagement for land dealings, so I think we can deal with this matter.
Okay. Right, with that, I'll put this to the vote. All those in favour? Unanimous, unanimous except for Councillor Causey. Declare that carried. Now we're into the fun of notices of motion. Councillor Beaujard.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I believe Councillor Grattan has an amendment to my motion, which I'm prepared to accept if governance want to bring it up.
Excellent. Thank you, Councillor Beaujard.
I suppose it's coming. Okay, Councillor Grattan, do you want to expand on why you've added that addition?
Certainly. You want me to do that now?
Well, yes, just so that because we've all had we've had over a week now of reading the first part, so just trying to expedite the idea of why did you do what you've done.
So I think the first step when we go about AI and using new types of technology in the organisation is actually about understanding what are the guardrails that we as a governing body want to put around AI, what is their overall strategy, rather than sort of going headfirst into things without necessarily having thought through what some of the implications and ramifications might be. You know, there's a lot of ethical questions, environmental questions around AI. There are all sorts of different sorts of capabilities that we might need to consider. What level of transparency are we going to find important? So by having a think in parallel with looking at some of the quick wins with AI is let's get some experience from those quick wins, but then let's actually do some of that work around the governance and strategy about how we think is the best way to use it across the council.
Okay, thank you. Now, Councillor Beaujard, I know, is the original mover. I'll let you, I just wanted us to hear why that addition. So you're happy with that addition?
Absolutely, Madam Mayor.
Right.
You're the chair, you can do whatever you wish.
Thank you. Councillor Beaujard, would you like to expand, since we've obviously just come from a conference, AI has certainly been a topic there as well.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'll try and keep this brief. Colleagues, this motion is not actually about AI or technology, it's about getting our house in order. It's about lifting the bar on how our community interacts with us. Right now, And with the best of efforts, and this isn't a comment on staff, but if you've been to our website, our digital experience can be clunky, it can be inconsistent, and it's actually well behind what residents expect. People don't just judge us against other councils, they judge us against the apps and services they use every day, and frankly, we're not close. We've started the heavy lifting with the ERP rollout and the digital transformation strategy, but that's only the foundation. Artificial intelligence and modern digital tools, and I'll point out it's not just an AI motion, aren't just nice to haves anymore. They're how we deliver faster service, reduce manual workload, and give our community real value for the rates they pay. Other councils are already using AI for customer service, for asset detection, even for streamlining internal workflows. We should at least know what's possible, what it costs, and what the risks are, because pretending this technology isn't reshaping service delivery would leave us behind and cost ratepayers more in the long run. This report doesn't commit us to any spend. It simply gives councillors the facts, the opportunities, and the business case so we can make informed decisions. That's responsible governance, and it positions us to lead instead of lag. I commend the motion to the chamber.
Okay, so next up is Councillor Harvey. Question? No, we already heard from the seconder who was the addition. So we're into questions. I did it back to front. Yep. Councillor Harvey, you were next.
Yeah, I just have a question, I think perhaps just to Councillor Beaujard. I remember in a briefing a few weeks ago, one of the directors actually mentioned that AI was used in analysing some of the results of something that we had before us. And I just wonder if you feel like it would be that this motion will appropriately address the potential pre-existing use of AI and whether there's a need to sort of consider that if not. You can answer that or you can pass it to staff if you prefer.
Okay, Councillor Hernjack, I've got you as next.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Thank you for your question, Councillor Harvey. I think it's a wide range. I can't speak for staff and what they do, and I wouldn't dare to, but it's a wide-ranging report which covers all opportunities within council. I think they'd cover that.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, Councillor Hernjack?
Thanks, Mayor. If there aren't any questions, I was hoping to move into debate.
Councillor Hackman, was yours a question?
Debate.
Okay. All right, Councillor Hernjack?
Thanks, Mayor. When it comes to AI, I consider myself to be a bit of a technophobe. I do have some concerns with how it's been used and the various impacts. I think what might be more appropriate with this motion would be to seek some clarification and a framework from the Office of Local Government in AI use in local councils. And I wonder if the mover and seconder would accept that as an addition in point 3. But otherwise, I won't move it as an amendment and we'll vote against. Thanks.
I don't think they've got one, Councillor Hernjack. I think that was the point of that conference paper. But I don't know.
Okay, so that's a question, but for those that can't hear what's happening quietly behind the scenes, there's a question because it's quite probable that the Office of Local Government doesn't have any guidelines yet because this is new technology. I could be wrong.
I think that the state government has a policy in the digital department for AI, but I think the OLG should probably have their own framework for local governments given the various governance risks and the people and money involved.
It's also new at the moment.
I've got a suggestion, existing policy and council's existing policy, we could add into that number 2, just the other frameworks, existing frameworks, state government frameworks, or strategy. Would that cover it for you?
Okay, so governance is kind of a bit confused. Where do you want those words?
I would just say I think I'd
or
prefer...
other state. Yeah, perfect.
I think I'd probably prefer
Perfect.
to ask the Office of Local Government to develop or share a framework rather than look at one that might already exist. So
It's up to the mover and the
Yeah.
seconder if you want to.
Sarah? I probably wouldn't accept that amendment. I don't think we can force the Office of Local Government to do anything. Maybe a question through you to the COO, if the COO is aware of if the
Okay.
COO is aware of anything.
So
coming
or
down the
other
tracks.
state government framework is acceptable?
Absolutely.
Okay, councillor Hackman. Okay, I have got councillor Glanville and councillor Grattan. So if your lights are off, and councillor DeLuca.
I just wanted to commend the initiative of Councillor Bogard for putting this forward. I think it is really wonderful to have him on this council so that he can advance some of these AI initiatives that will be very efficient for our community. I'd also like to say thank you to Councillor Grattan for making this more strategic and thinking about it from a level of governance. That's quite critical. What we did learn in the workshop on AI that we just came back from at LG NSW is that leadership engagement is quite critical, and I think it would be fantastic to make sure that we as leaders are included in these conversations, and I'm looking forward to that when that report comes back. What I'm not seeing in that point one is the risk, and I'm wondering whether or not the mover and seconder would consider including opportunities, benefits, risks, and potential cost of investment. The other thing is just...
Oh, sorry. Okay, so you've just asked a question and it's a yes?
He said yes, sure.
Okay, so I'm just trying to make sure governance can tidy up as we go along. Any other...
Yeah, and I guess the other thing that was of note to me during that workshop was to be cautious of AI, that it's not just product-led, that it is actually problem-driven, because product-led, as we spoke to some of the suppliers, they're really interested in processing DAs quite quickly, making this kind of thing happen, or doing chatbots. All that is fine when AI is driving us, but I'd really like to understand what problems we have in council that can be addressed by AI. And also, yeah, just I guess thinking about the hallucinations and some of the early issues that happen with AI, I'm hoping that some of that will be covered off by the risks component. So I'm looking forward to seeing this report.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Glanville, had your light on
Thanks.
next.
I think I'm going to speak both for and against this motion. I think in general, the technology that we use could always be better. I personally can never find anything on the website and need to Google it instead, and I think that's a pretty common experience from residents. But I'm a little bit of a Luddite in terms of the enormous risks that I think exist for AI. I got to use an AI for my legal work, and it hallucinated answers that would be professional negligence to have actually relied upon. A lot of the answers that AI gives are, to put it bluntly, not only junk, but actually bad for the environment because of the amount of water and electricity used to generate absolute garbage. I think AI carries a lot of privacy risks. I think it has a lot of ethical issues because of the way that AI is programmed to basically be a sycophant. And it can have potential workplace impacts. So I'm sort of speaking for and against because I think there is a role for technology, but I would hate for the outcome of this motion to be that we, instead of engaging with residents properly, have a new AI chatbot that just finds new ways to frustrate residents by not only not listening to them, but wasting their time with AI hallucinations, chatting back to them, because I know I've engaged with chatbots in various forms that are powered by AI and get junk answers from. So I guess it's a report. If I vote for it, it'll be because we're just getting more information, but I do think that there are enormous risks from AI. And that's not to say that we can't improve our technology. I think we should. But I'm very much on the fence about AI.
Okay, I'm going to sneak myself in here because I can see most of the names have already said something, so I'm going to throw mine in, which is I think the reason we're asking for a report is so we do have more information. Someone said last week to me at an event I was at that the problem with AI is it is so damn keen to please. It tries to give you the answers it thinks you want. So that's why I'm very happy that Councillor Hackman added risks. I mean, we're moving in a technological area of change and very aware that It's helpful, but we have to make sure it's helpful to council and to the community for the right reasons. So I'm really happy to support because we don't know if we don't ask the questions. Right. The next person I had on the list was Councillor Grattan. I haven't heard anyone say that yet, but I had a list of Councillor Grattan, I've got one kind of for and against person, but she didn't say what. I've got Councillor Grattan, DeLuca, Harvey and Causey. So, Councillor Grattan? Okay, all right. Councillor DeLuca, you were next.
Thanks, Madam Mayor. While I appreciate Councillor Beaujard bringing this matter before Council, I do think it has significant risk, and that's just based on a speech that was delivered by the Chief Justice of the Supreme Court, similarly highlighted by Councillor Glanville, whereby a practitioner actually used AI to give case precedents and they didn't exist. Now, from a negligence point of view, that's more than negligence, and that practitioner was properly disciplined. Recently, I had the misfortune of having to deal with Telstra, who decided to change accounts into my name of people that never authorised it, nor did I. They also used my credit card to pay for those people who never authorised it, nor did I. And that was through AI. 4 months later, only today has there been a resolution when real people came into it. But the sad thing is, the chatbots and everything else and the AI didn't have to identify or seek verification, but I had to, as well as the people that were adversely affected. So thinking about the dangers of AI, assessing DAs as an example, an application of how they would actually assess development applications, objections, submissions, it does scare me greatly. So I'm glad that the risks of such technology have been put in the motion, and I acknowledge the comments of Councillor Hernjack earlier. I think we've got to balance efficiencies with accuracy, and also always remember that this council is dealing with people, and it is the people that we must be providing the best service to, and often that is by actual people and not by chatbots, not by AI. And I think we just need to be very cautious, and I look forward to the report.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Harvey, I had your name next. No? Right, Councillor Causey. I had your light on next. Okay, all right. With that, do you need a right of reply or?
To speed things along, I've reserved my right. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Okay, all right. Well, let's just put this to the vote. All those in favour? Deputy Mayor Bingham, Councillor Williams, Councillor Hackman, Councillor Beaujard, Councillor Harvey, Councillor Grattan, Councillor Robins, Councillor Giltman, Councillor DeLuca, Councillor Singh, Councillor Dillon, Councillor Causey and myself. Those against, Councillor Hernjack and Councillor Glanville. Declare that carried. 13.4.
Thanks, Madam Mayor. I have an updated motion that's been lodged with the clerks.
Clerks?
Oh, sorry.
Well, that's going back a few decades.
You can tell where I've been for the past few days.
And it's seconded by Councillor Singh. Yep, I saw your hand up. I'm just double checking. Yep.
So since the notice of motion...
Actually, yeah, can we and also ask questions and then we can go to you. Can you give us a little bit of an update of what you've changed from last week?
So not from last week, it was 21 October, yep.
Okay.
So originally, as we know, there was a notice of motion concerning the licence period for mobile food vehicle permits, and that was the actual resolution was to explore the reviewing the merchandise guide, as well as the processes for obtaining outdoor dining licences and permits for food trucks to operate on council land, and to report back within 6 months. Since that time, as you can see, I've just cited 2 emails from proprietors that are in great distress because council unfortunately has informed them that they are either in breach of their permits or that council will not agree to them continuing in their existing form. So I was saddened to receive very distressing phone calls and emails from Mrs. Wendy Lovell, and the information is there. And then that email from Xavier Ambrosia, the proprietor of the Patagonia Northern Beaches at Long Reef, where he says he won't be able to keep operating under these conditions. So I'm hoping that with this updated notice of motion that council will convene an urgent meeting, not just with these 2 proprietors, but with anyone with an interest in relation to mobile food vehicle permit holders, and work to find an expeditious resolution that will not result in small businesses having to discontinue, I should say, their businesses, as is the case of these 2 people who've stated it, and others have stated similarly.
Okay, so questions? I have a couple of questions. I'm aware we've got a possible amendment. Just trying to put it in context. So it's really easy, I suspect, to kind of look at what council's doing and go, council hates all mobile food operators. But I'm also aware that since COVID, when all the rules were relaxed, so many times rules were relaxed to allow mobile food operators, much to the distress of other food operators who were already paying rents and everything else, to operate as well. So council quite rightly has put in operations and rules, if you like, to make sure people are a certain distance away. But as we know, human nature is people always like to take a little bit more than what they're allowed, and they're still learning along the way. So my question through to the CEO, to whoever may take this, is in the case of the 2 examples that are given here, how many of them are not complying with their conditions of consent at the moment?
Through you, Mayor Hines, I will talk to the first matter, which is the matter related to Wendy. She is currently operating a mobile food vending permit, and which requires you to move, only operate in one location for 1 hour a day. You can operate multiple locations around the LGA, but you can only stay for 1 hour per day in the one location. And at present, she is operating outside of those guidelines.
Okay,
not
I'm sorry,
guidelines,
just
those
stay there.
conditions.
I'm going to have
Yep.
a couple of questions.
Yep.
Because each and every one of them has a different way, I suppose, of trying to make money, but also comply with conditions that council puts on them. I suppose, as is every business operator, in all honesty. So trying to kind of think that through, why is there a 1 hour operation at a caravan park?
It's not a 1 hour operation at a caravan park. It's council's standard mobile food vending permit, which means you can operate a mobile food vending vehicle around the LGA but you can only operate in a location for 1 hour in any 24-hour period.
So I'm trying to equate that. Does that mean that that coffee van is supposed to be a bit like a Mr. Whippy van that moves around? Is that the correlation?
Through you, Mayor Hines, it's a mobile one, so yes, it's a mobile food vending permit.
And what's the difference between, sorry, I'm asking and trying to understand this too. So what's the difference between a mobile food operator that has to move around like a Mr. Whippy van as opposed to someone like Mulatto who wants to be there for a long time? Is that a mobile food licence as well, or is that a different type of licence? And why have we got so many different types of licences?
Thank you, Mayor. I'll take that one. Council has identified 12 separate locations across the Northern Beaches local government area where mobile food operators are permitted to stay longer than the 1 hour period. Those sites were selected on the basis of them being not readily close to other cafes and food locations. And again, it was part of the Council's response to recovery from the COVID-19 pandemic.
Okay. And the Patagonia one at Longreef, which category is that one in? I'm thinking that's category 2, or has he just... sorry, okay, well, I've got a whole heap of names here. I promise I've got you all. If you could...
Have you got...
Okay.
Have you got me, sir?
Sorry?
I had my light on.
Yes, I do. I have you after the possible amendment.
Yeah.
It was me jumping in with questions.
Can I just ask questions, though, before that amendment?
Okay.
Thank you.
I'm still in the questions.
Thank you, Mayor. The site at Longreef, where Xavier from Patagonia is operating, is one of the 12 approved locations.
Oh, okay, so they have an approved location where they're allowed to stay for a period of time, and then it goes out to see if they want, and other people want that same space.
They have a 12-month permit, and the Longreef location was operating on a trial basis for that 12 months.
So now, after the trial, the assumption is that we can put it out to tender for anyone. Okay. All right, sorry, just trying to get my head around the differences between this, because all we hear about is mobile food vendors. Okay, Councillor De Luca, you said you had questions?
Thanks, Madam Mayor. Just in relation to Mrs Lovell's concerns, and following on from actually a question that Councillor Hines asked that hasn't been answered yet, her actual permit was granted well after COVID. I understand 4 years ago, and at the time she was told that it was an all-encompassing and there was no restrictions of 1 hour. But it is on the Lakeside Caravan Park, and she had to seek permission from the management of the time to conduct that business, and she subsequently sought permission from the new managers. So why is council intervening when it's on private land or considered private land?
Through you, Mayor Hines, it's not considered private land, it's public land. In terms of the process, so Ms Lovell received a Section 68 mobile food vendor permit, which allows you to operate a mobile food vending operation. For her to then operate on Lakeside, she obviously went and talked to the management to seek permission to operate on their site, because they are responsible for managing the site.
So what occasioned the actual notice from council? And Mrs Lovell was just concerned that she received that notice cold call. She didn't receive any prior telephone call or inspection or anything like that. So why was that notice occasioned, and why was it sent in the way it was done without any sort of, look, these are the reasons?
Thank you. Through you, Mayor Hines. My understanding is that the park management discussed it with Ms Lovell. I don't think it was a letter or a notification. It was a discussion. The council has just recently put in place a new operator for Lakeside Caravan Park. As part of that process, we've gone through and reviewed all of the approvals, all of the contracts, etc. And this one was one that was in place, and council obviously said, well, it's not operating within its conditions.
In relation to the submission by Mr. Ambrosia, what other proprietors other than Mr. Ambrosia and Mrs. Lovell have come to council expressing concern over the viability of their businesses based on council's recent action?
Through you, Mayor, there have been representations in relation to the reissuing of permits from one other business, who is Mulatto at North Manly. Staff have met with Juan from Mulatto on numerous occasions and have now resolved that matter to the satisfaction of all parties. And as I understand, there will be slight moving of that trailer to allow for amenity of residents to be maintained. And I myself have met with the residents and the operator, and there is a satisfactory resolution of that matter. The only other matter is in relation to the operations of the Patagonia van, where the operator there has expressed concern that he would like to do things that are outside the permit to increase the financial viability of his business.
In relation to Mulatto, is it true that they're being actually moved into an area which floods and that they will now have to use a generator?
Through you, Mayor, the entire park floods. And the council staff have agreed with the operator to do some levelling and some works there in the reserve to ensure that there's no ponding of water. And yes, the amenity concerns in relation to operation of the site and the noise generated by the use of the site adjacent to residential premises have meant the moving of the site, and the operator is seeking to use a generator now to provide his service at that site with appropriate noise dampening controls.
And he previously used electricity provided by an adjoining resident, is that correct?
Yes.
Yes.
So I know that I've got Councillor Hackman, Causey and Dillon, but just one quick question then from me, because I don't know whether you've got questions. I know that Councillor Glanville has an amendment. Question, Councillor? All right, I'll wait my turn.
Yep, thank you. I'm sorry, I'm finding it quite frustrating because I feel like these are questions that could have been answered prior to this meeting. We're here to set policy and to move the order of business along, so I'll be quick. Just with regards to this motion, number 2, could, through the Mayor, someone check, because I believe that we've already voted on this, to delay for 6 months the current conditions to give these businesses certainty. So is this in contravention to a previous motion that's already been resolved? And while we're asking that question, could I also ask, through you, Mayor, is it true that the mobile food vehicles have actually been in consultation with council for many, many months on a very regular basis? So what difference would it make to endorse this motion?
Through the CEO to...
Yes, through you, Mayor. In relation to the question about what has council previously resolved, back in the October meeting, council resolved to survey the relevant stakeholders, including outdoor dining, food truck permit holders and local chambers of commerce on processes for allowing outdoor dining and food trucks to operate on council land. So there is work already in play in relation to that.
And were we not in discussions with them regularly before that, before the October resolution?
Yes, the annual permit renewals, and we've been in discussions with all of the operators in relation to the annual permit renewals, and also 2 of the operators in relation to specific issues at their sites.
So you'd say that we're already in quite frequent contact trying to resolve these issues?
Yes.
Okay. One other question, just looking on Instagram recently, and while I love to attend these local mobile coffee vans and often at outdoor sites, I love them, and very much support small business. I love that we do this. However, recently I saw on social media that Mulatto Coffee said the end of an era, and it was all blacked out. Are they closed? Have they decided to close?
Through you, Mayor, my understanding as of last Friday, Mulatto was still operating, and we've been in contact with him. He
Okay.
has, yes.
Yeah.
I understand he is still operating from that site and is soon to relocate slightly north in that park.
Yes, and I noticed that the house behind him is now for sale. So it seems like some of the previous concerns that local residents may have been mitigated by that. All right, thank you.
Next person asking a question, Councillor Dillon.
Just wondering, through you, Madam Mayor, do mobile food vendors and mobile coffee carts sign an agreement that outlines their guidelines and permissions from open space or any other division of council?
Through you, Mayor Hines, yes, to receive a mobile food vending permit, you need to apply. It has the conditions on the application form and on your permit that you sign, so yes.
And would that outline the timing?
Through you, Mayor Hines, yes.
Thank you.
Okay, Councillor Singh.
I just had a quite concerned with the community and small businesses, number of businesses in Northern Beaches. Especially, a lot of people ask, does council taking actions the people who are cooking from home?
Can I just clarify that question? Do you mean food dark kitchens, people who are selling food and cooking from home?
That's right.
Right.
Through you, Mayor, we'll have to come back to you on that one, Councillor Singh, because I'm not aware of the answer to that question.
Okay, we'll take that. And so now I will, after the questions, unless there's anyone else with questions? Councillor Grattan, is that a question?
Yeah, question.
Okay, Councillor Harvey, is that a question? Okay, 2 more questions.
Is a payment required for these permits in terms of using this public land to run their business?
Through you, Mayor, yes, there is a variable schedule of payments for a 1-hour permit and a different site
And
permit.
how is the permit amount determined, and is it comparable with outdoor dining licence fees, for example?
Through you, Mayor Hines, outdoor dining fees vary up and down the beaches based on a whole range of factors. We can provide you the outdoor dining, the mobile vending permit fees. I just don't have them with me at this point in time, but we can provide that to councillors.
And has council resolved a policy position around the use of public land by private businesses to turn a profit?
Through you, Mayor, that's a a very broad-ranging question, Councillor Grattan. The answer to that is the Local Government Act sets the framework for then council to determine through plans of management how the commercial use of open space is provided for. So, for example, there are a number of cafes and restaurants on public land across the Northern Beaches that have appropriate approval through that plan of management process.
And the very last one, is there a competitive process that goes on with these particular mobile food vans? Over a period of every 5 years, we have a look at it and allow businesses to pitch for that particular space, or is it sort of a first come, first served basis in these areas?
Through you, Mayor Hines, you can just apply for a mobile food vending permit.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Harvey, you had questions? And then
Yeah.
I've got one as well at the end.
Look, I don't want to raise a point of order on this, but I am slightly concerned that the contents of this motion might be bringing council into disrepute. While I understand the intention of the motion, and I commend Councillor De Luca for trying to sort of put this residents' experiences on the table, I just worry that in the context of we get a lot of complaints and we have a lot of people who have ongoing cases with council, that this might set up a bit of a strange norm where people want to have the specifics of their issue in each council meeting detailed. And also it is a bit misleading because as far as I'm aware...
Just a point of order.
Your point of order?
The comments being made are actually an adverse reflection and they're not a point of order, they're a running commentary.
I didn't intend to make a point of order. I was just... my question is about whether there might be any concern by staff that this may bring council into disrepute, particularly because I note that we have successfully had
I suppose your
negotiations with other
question,
vendors.
Councillor Harvey, is will this bring council into disrepute?
Sure.
Okay. Mr. CEO, how would you like to have that one?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Councillors, nothing in front of me would suggest that be the case. I would make just a broader general observation, and to each of you.
Can I rephrase my question? Sorry, you summarised it for me, Mayor, but I've got my head around it a bit more. My more specific question is, do the extent of the details of this case need to be within the contents of this motion to achieve the function of the motion, I suppose? Like, I think we can understand what Councillor De Luca is trying to raise without having all of the details, because I'm worried it sets a certain precedent. So my question is, would we have a motion before us that is less likely to bring council into disrepute if we were about to
Just a point of order.
Okay, I think Councillor Harvey is trying to get the point across, and Mr. CEO, do you understand what Councillor Harvey is trying to ask?
And can I just raise my point of order again?
Yep.
Alleging that a councillor is bringing council into disrepute is actually a contravention of the Code of Meeting Practice and an act of disorder. Secondly, I would remind council that on numerous occasions we have noted similarly, this is not creating a precedence. It's been done before on my motion.
Okay, noted. Councillor Harvey?
I want to clarify though, I'm not alleging that also I'm allowed to allege that another councillor is bringing...
Councillor Harvey,
that's a point of
I
order,
think
I'm allowed to
we've
allege
got-
that, but I'm not doing that, so...
Councillor Harvey, thank you.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. So just to clarify the more narrow point, no, there is nothing before us that would suggest that anything in this motion brings council into disrepute. My more general observation, and I say this equally to all councillors, is our process for assisting council with NOMs prior to the meeting provides a governance process that whilst I don't suggest, and there is nothing in front of me to believe that there is anything before you that has any legal or other concerns, I would just say to each of you that in putting forward amendments to NOMs that go through that governance process, you remove our ability to be able to assist you with that. So it's one where councillors, if this motion is adopted, we understand the intent of one is to focus on current case studies that are in front of us, and that as a point two, you are asking us, if you adopt this motion, to ensure that meetings occur as a matter of urgency.
Madam Mayor, I understand that Councillor Granville had an amendment. I'm just.
We're just not up to that yet.
Okay.
That's all right. Thank you.
We're still
I know
in
we're getting there.
question time.
I know we're still going through questions. I think we have one more question, and then we can actually get to the mover. Councillor Beaujard, you had a question?
Thank you, Mayor Hines. Question through you to staff, and it may lead to another one, but I'll try and keep it brief. How complex are our agreements with these vendors? Are they something like this document here, or are they a bit more simple? I'm trying to understand how people are getting mixed up with these agreements.
Through you, Mayor Hines, from memory, the mobile food vending permit one is a couple of pages.
And my follow-up question is, both of these named case studies, they applied for and were successfully granted permits. Am I correct in assuming that? Thank you.
Yes, through you, Mayor.
Thank you. No more questions.
Okay, as the mover, Councillor De Luca.
Thanks, Mayor Hines. Small business is the lifeblood of our community, and we have continued to receive copious amounts of correspondence by our community concerned as to how our mobile food vehicle permit holders and the processes are being handled. There has also been significant media attention. I have to reject the statement of Councillor Hackman. My efforts are to support small business and ensure that these two small businesses that have said they risk being closed, I'm trying to ensure that we properly deal with this by escalating this to the top levels of management and holding a meeting, because from what I have read through the copious amounts of correspondence, they feel they are being unfairly treated in that every submission that they have made in writing has been rejected, despite them feeling that they have good reason for such submissions. Mrs. Lovell, for example, is absolutely distraught. And that is why I would greatly appreciate, and I have asked the General Manager for a proper meeting convened by him to get everyone around the table and to actually deal with this expeditiously and not wait for the resolution of the policy or the policy guidelines review, etc., etc. We're dealing with people. We're dealing with their livelihoods. And I think it's incumbent upon us as councillors, as their elected representatives, to try and help them when we can. We wouldn't be receiving the types of correspondence that I have quoted from if the meetings had, or the liaisons, quote, had progressed to what I think most of us intended. We need to ensure that these people are properly listened to, that their submissions are properly analysed, and that action is taken. As I say, with current proposals in relation to these two small businesses, one of which has been operating without problem for 4 years, they will face going out of business. And I would hope that no one in this chamber would want that to happen. So I ask that you support this motion.
Thank you, Councillor De Luca. As the seconder, would you like to respond, Councillor Singh, or reserve your right?
No, I'm happy to support the motion.
Okay, all right. So now we're moving into debate. Councillor Glanville, I have you down as an amendment, and Councillor Causey, I have you down for debate as well. All right, Councillor Glanville.
I've sent through an amendment to governance. I'm a little bit concerned by one. While I respect we've received some advice on that from the CEO/Shire Clerk on that, but I personally feel a bit uncomfortable resolving such specifics without particularly Escape the Ordinary, where I'm just simply unfamiliar with their issues, getting into the weeds on this. And I think, not to rehash the debate we had last month, but I think that where we all landed was that we're very sympathetic to the issues raised by the mobile food vendors, but we want to make sure that we're not getting into operational matters within the chamber and without full context of some of the circumstances and whether the conduct of staff in particular circumstances has been appropriate or otherwise. I think we all want a compliant outcome. I think we all want successful food truck businesses operating. And so basically just simplifying this to note that.
I have an amendment to Councillor Glanville's amendment, if she'd accept it, Madam Mayor.
Okay, well, technically, I should be moving on to our next person. But do I have a seconder, or do you have a seconder, importantly? Councillor Beaujard?
Councillor Beaujard has told me the nature of it, and I think I'll accept it, so I'm happy for him to second it.
Okay.
I'll just have to quickly read it to governance. It's not very complicated. Just amend number 2 to read, convene an urgent meeting at the earliest opportunity with the remaining 2 mobile food vehicle permit holders who have issues to find an expeditious resolution.
Can I just ask a question? Will that be led by the General Manager?
No, it could be led by the CEO, though. Sorry, I couldn't help
Mr. Phillips.
I want it led by the Shire Clerk and or...
As long as he's wearing his gown, that's fine.
Okay, so are we happy with the amendment? Okay, did we get a nod to the answer to led by Shire Clerk, General Manager or CEO, whoever you are at the time?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Councillors, as always, I will ensure that the appropriate officer deals with each matter as required. We senior staff around the table tonight understand Council's mood in respect of the matter.
Sorry, just on that. Do you understand, though, the intent of my original motion, and I hope the intent of councillors, that as the head of this council, and this being such an important issue to small business, that you actually meet with them?
Could be a double act. I'm happy to be there with Mr. CEO as well. Huh? I can talk business. Okay, Councillor Causey, your light was on for debate, but now I'm not sure if you want to join in on the amendment.
Well, I've got one comment about the amendment, that the remaining 2 mobile food vehicle permit holders that have issues, that's assuming that those are the only 2 that have issues, and once the word gets out that this is going on, there may be others who have issues. So I'm also concerned that there are cafes with permanent leases, permanent premises, who would have a point of view on this as well. So, but anyway, I think it's problematic.
Okay. Is there anything that you think needs to be changed? We're all aware as councillors, because we do get emails, that for every mobile food vendor, there's normally a fixed address hospitality business that's also hurting. So, and of course, no one wants to hurt their business by saying that they're complaining about another business. Very aware of that. Councillor Dillon, are you speaking for this amendment or against this amendment, joining the debate?
No, I was going to ask another question,
No,
Madam Mayor.
we've moved on from questions, trust me, at the moment. Councillor Glanville, do you want to add anything to this?
Only that it's seeking to discuss with them. Arguably, we don't even need a resolution because I'm sure the staff in any event would do so, but as the motion's in front of us, we are dealing with it and
Can I add a tiny bit of secondary if I'm really quick?
Yes.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'd like to commend staff on the work they've done with the other mobile food vendors who have issues and the resolutions that have been found. They were big issues. They were very much all over all over what was going on. Councillor Hackman mentioned that Mulatto said they were closing down. Well, they were closing down Mulatto 0.1. Mulatto 2.0 has been launched and is very exciting. It's nice to see these things being fixed by staff and being worked through. And I think this amendment actually understands that while we need to keep working through that, the number is reducing. So I'd like to thank the staff for working so hard on that.
Okay, with that, if we can put this to the amendment to the vote. All those in favour? Deputy Mayor Bingham, Councillor Williams, Councillor Hernjack, Councillor Hackman, Councillor Beaujard, Councillor Glanville, Councillor Harvey, Councillor Grattan, Councillor Robins, Councillor Dillon, Councillor Causey and myself. Those against, Councillor Giltland, Councillor DeLuca and Councillor Singh. Declare that carried. It's now become the motion. Okay. Putting this to the vote, I'm gathering we've...
I'd just like to... I'm just going to say that I have a sense of unreality about this debate. We've already discussed this extensively at the October meeting. We came back with a resolution to review the policy. We know that there are people who run mobile food vans are hurting, but I also have had complaints from cafes in particular who operate from permanent premises, who pay a lot of rent, who are quite resentful about some of these mobile food vans that are actually quite close by their cafes, their businesses, and they are also small businesses. So I do not understand why we need an urgent meeting now for two mobile food operators, for two businesses who are breaking the rules, and why we are getting involved in such great depth in these particular cases on the floor of the council when we've been quite happy to just hand over the guidelines for how we manage millions of dollars worth of property, and yet we're going into chapter and verse about mobile food vans. So I believe the staff were already handling this anyway, and there was no need for any of this discussion, and we should just leave staff to get on with it.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Causey. Your comments are noted. If we can now put this to the vote. All those in favour? Deputy Mayor Bingham, Councillor Williams, Councillor Hernjack, Councillor Hackman, Councillor Beaujard, Councillor Glanville, Councillor Harvey, Councillor Grattan, Councillor Robins, Councillor Giltland, Councillor DeLuca, Councillor Singh, Councillor Dillon, myself, and against is Councillor Causey. Declare that carried.
Mayor, could I move a procedural motion that we adjourn for 10 minutes to take a break now that we're about halfway through the agenda?
How are we feeling about that? All right. Those in favour? Declare that carried. We are now in adjournment at 7:51.
community understood what council and what staff already do for shark management in our area.
Through to Mr Dickinson, if you'd like to turn your light on, that'd be great.
Thank you, Mayor Hines. I think with a lot of public policy issues, it is often a little bit difficult for the community to understand the boundaries between local government and state government, you know, be it the management of local roads versus state roads, and this is probably another one where it can be confusing at times, but certainly staff are very clear, and I think councillors are quite clear on where those responsibilities start and stop.
I suspect there might have been an expectation of actually where does council's responsibilities stop and where does state start?
Yeah,
Am I right?
do council own drones and do we run them already, or is it something that's only managed by the state, or who runs the alarms, that kind of stuff?
Through you, Mayor Hines, the New South Wales Shark Management Program is run by the Department of New South Wales Department of Fisheries, Primary Industries Fisheries, who do virtually all of the shark management activity, and that includes the installation and management of shark nets, the provision of drones through Surf Life Saving New South Wales, the management of listening stations, and also the management of the smart drum lines.
Could I ask what kind of information do we get from the listening stations, and how many do we have on the beaches?
Through you, Mayor Hines, council doesn't get any information directly as part of that program other than through the usual duties of the surf lifesavers when they're made aware of those sorts of things. All of that information is managed by New South Wales Department of Fisheries.
Okay, Councillor DeLuca, your light flashed on and off. Have you got questions?
I was just going to ask Councillor Bingham whether she's prepared to accept an addition to 2.
I'm not sure that we can do additions at the moment. I also have an addition, but don't we have to wait till debate?
I thought that by putting this up now, people can then ask, if it's accepted, people can ask questions of that if they so need.
Well, I was waiting procedurally until the debate.
Okay, so, all right, we'll be all on our best behaviour at the moment, so we're only asking questions and then we'll wait until we have the mover and the seconder say their bit, and then we can have a look at everyone's additions.
I'd like to foreshadow an addition.
Okay, thank you very much. Anyone else have any questions? Or can I now ask Councillor Bingham as the mover to speak?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. For decades, we've relied on shark nets as our more popular beaches for shark management, a technology that has not changed since the 1930s. Most people believe that the nets run from headland to headland, but the facts about the nets are simply this. They are only 150 metres long and 6 metres deep. They are set in about 10 metres of water, approximately 500 metres from the shore. The nets are not a complete barrier. They are like the equivalent of a hanky just floating in the vast ocean. They were introduced 88 years ago. That's 88 years ago. Research conducted by the Department of Primary Industries over the last 8 years clearly shows that drones provide a far more effective and ethical solution. Drones can patrol vast sections of the coastland readily, identify shark activity in real time, and provide up-to-the-minute information to lifeguards and authorities. This rapid detection not only increases public safety, but also minimises unnecessary harm to marine ecosystems. The recent deployment of smart drum lines, resulting in the tagging and re-releasing of sharks, has provided us with a great deal of data, telling us where the sharks go, how often they return, and whether their activity is seasonal. But the benefits of deploying drones is undeniable. They are more accurate, adaptable, and environmentally friendly than any other methods trialled. Drones can also distinguish between various marine creatures, reducing the risk of bycatch and protecting our precious marine biodiversity. By replacing the nets with drone technology, New South Wales can lead the way in innovative, humane and effective shark management. And our ocean swimmers can enjoy their swim or surf without constantly looking out for shadows.
Okay, thank you very much. As a seconder, Councillor Harvey.
Thank you. Thank you, Councillor Bingham, for all your work on this. As a surfer, I tell you, I'm not always looking out for shadows, but the thought does cross your mind. So I think this is fantastic that we're advocating to invest in drone surveillance for sharks and advocating that the state government give some more money to Surf Lifesaving New South Wales for this. I just want to tell a little tale. Over in Bondi, there's a community member who provides a really invaluable service. He is flying his drone each morning and documenting what wildlife is about, and particularly providing warnings if there are, to his nearly 1 million followers, might I add, people who don't even live in Bondi, about what sharks are in the area and if there's potentially risky target species. Unfortunately, these drone flights in our area can only be permitted by authorised government bodies, and it's also very costly and labour intensive to, one, acquire a drone, and two, become sufficiently qualified to identify sharks in the water or other marine species. If we can sway the state government to invest more in promising preventative surveillance technologies that we can see are already serving and informing other neighbouring LGAs, I think that it would not only be a very wise decision, but one that would be welcomed by majority of our community. I wasn't going to get into the whole SharkNet thing tonight because this is about drones, but I acknowledge that Councillor Bingham has already sort of mentioned the shortfallings of that current technology. I just wanted to bring to the attention of our council, if you haven't seen it already, a juvenile humpback whale was killed off the coast of Wollongong Council a couple of weeks ago. So not only is this a matter of marine safety, human safety, but their council was actually left with a $44,000 bill to retrieve that whale and retrieve the net entangling it. So this is also a fiscal risk for our council, and I think the sooner we can merge towards more responsible and proactive surveillance via drones and other technologies and away from these archaic nets, the better. Thank you.
Okay, so then I have Councillor Hackman and Councillor DeLuca, both with amendments. So Councillor Hackman,
Thank
would
you so
like
much.
to show your amendment to the mover and the seconder?
Yeah, it's just an addition, if governance can pull that up. And the reason that I'm proposing this, and I'm hoping Councillor Bingham and Councillor Harvey will endorse it, is because after feedback from surfers and Surf Lifesaving New South Wales, what they've asked for is more listening stations on the beaches. At the moment, we only have 3, and they've said that they need to see where the sharks are travelling, in which direction. We may get a ping that a shark is at a listening station, but without the knowledge of which direction they're travelling, we can't use it to preconceive or put on a tangent where that shark may be travelling. The other thing that they've said is that while there's been a huge download in the apps about shark detection, there is a 10 to 15 minute delay on those apps. And it often doesn't reach people if they're in the water. So I guess what I'm asking for...
Has the amendment been sent through to governance?
Sure has.
Okay, all right, sorry, we're just waiting to see it. You're next.
So I guess my amendment is... Addition is... It says... To number 1, it just says to add more listening stations, increase drone surveillance and listening stations. And number 4, investigate ways to support people in the water who see a shark when lifeguards are not present. As Northern Beaches residents and people who are always in the water and out surfing, in the water who see a shark when lifeguards are not present. We only have a certain amount of time that Surf Lifesaving New South Wales and our lifeguards are out there, and the surfers say that if they see a shark out in the water, they want to be able to alert other people, and currently there is no way to do that if it's early in the morning or later in the afternoon. And while it's a little bit difficult because there isn't a straightforward solution, I think it's important to give our surfers in our community a little bit more certainty and confidence that seeing as though they're out there saving lives when people do drown or, get into trouble in the water, that we support them. when they're asking for this. So
I will accept those additions. Councillor Harvey?
Sorry, question. Can I understand whether 4 is valid given I don't know whether staff think that would create resource demands that are not budgeted. So through you, Madam Mayor.
it's not for council. I was asking for the New South Wales government.
Well, that's not what the amendment says, though.
Oh, so it starts with that council investigate ways to support people in the water.
I would lean on the Councillor Bingham and Councillor Harvey to help me word that. Perhaps it gets slotted into number 2. I don't want to break your motion, but I'm asking the New South Wales government to look at that.
I might throw a bit of a spanner in the works here. I actually think that as much as I thank Councillor Hackman for the consideration of these other elements, I just think that we're mixing the technologies here a bit. If we're going to call for more listening stations, then we're calling for more beta drum lines as well and investigating ways to support it. I just feel like this might be something that could be a separate motion, as the thing is literally titled Drone Shark Management Program. But
okay, I'm happy to remove number 4 if that makes it easier, but I think listening stations is literally what the community is asking for. And
So Councillor Hackman, Councillor Harvey has rejected that addition. So
I'm happy to leave the listening stations if we remove point 4. Are you okay with
Okay.
that, Councillor Bingham? Sorry. Are you okay with that as it stands?
Stations. I'm sorry, I didn't hear.
Keeping the listening stations, but removing point 4.
Yes, I agree with that. Thank you.
Thank you both.
So now we're on to the next one. Councillor De Luca.
So I have sent my suggested addition to governance, just an extension to 2. And I move that on the advice of the volunteer surf lifesavers, that they're responsible for operating these drones, and unless the club pays for them, they don't get to have the training necessary. And then they said that actually paying for jet skis is imperative for surveillance, and boat patrols by the Department of Primary Industries and Fisheries need to be increased. And that's because, as you would know, when the wind is up, the drones don't work.
I will accept that. Will you, Councillor Harvey?
Can we simplify it instead to just say including training and equipment?
Rather than as well as?
Yeah, as well as training and equipment.
I just wanted to be pretty specific because they want, because as you know, they're using jet skis, but they're actually the clubs, and the clubs aren't getting any funding whatsoever unless it's by way of grant. And also they want the boat patrols, so that's actually separate by the Department of Primary Industries and Fisheries. They want those to actually increase.
Sorry, I just want to make a comment.
So just first of all,
before she accepts
Councillor-
that, I just wanted to make one quick comment for more information.
So just hold on a moment, Councillor Hackman, because we're trying to manage, and I know you're dying to say something, but Councillor De Luca has now had his, and I need to hear from the mover, from the original mover and seconder about what they're thinking and feeling.
Well, I'll accept that. Will you, Councillor Harvey?
I've had feedback that the volunteer lifesavers are actually quite dangerous on the jet skis, and Surfing New South Wales are concerned about that. I wanted to raise that for consideration.
Okay, so
I suggest we leave it to the department to
Councillor
make that
Hackman,
decision.
yes. What other people say is an issue that you need to be careful when you're gathering information and saying it publicly. Councillor Harvey?
I'm happy to just reduce. I understand the desire for specificity, but I think that Surf Life Saving New South Wales can be diligent and understand where they need to allocate their resources efficiently, whether that goes to volunteers or not. But I think for the most part, the liability the liability with identifying and operating these drones is mainly among professional lifeguards. So I think that, as well as funding and equipment, is sufficient if we're going to have that addition. Will you accept that, Councillor De Luca? Would you rather us just reject it?
Thanks for offering to reject it. Councillor Bingham, if I were to move this in an amended form and have you as the mover of the amendment and me as the seconder on those wording, are you happy with that? Because after the comment about Surf Lifesaving just made, I think it's important to support them with such a motion there.
Well, at the end of the day, it will be up to the Department of Primary Industries anyway. So I suggest, Councillor Harvey, that we leave it as it is.
Leave it as it is then. Let's go.
Okay, so then I had Councillor Glanville.
Look, I was only going to make the observation, it will be up to the New South Wales Government what it funds. I think we could get as specific as we wanted to. We could resolve a whole textbook on shark prevention, and the New South Wales Government ultimately will make a decision about things. Personally, I'm not a scientist. I don't know enough about the subject to say specifically what equipment is needed, but you know, I think this is just about raising profile of the issue, so I'll support the motion, but I think it probably would have been better if this was amended in a more generic way, given that there's all sorts of technology out there.
I will just add as well, one thing I'm concerned about, Councillor Bingham, is that the objective of point 2 was investment in shark-related drone surveillance, but then the as well as training, blah, 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 including boat patrols. We know that boat patrols are often accompanied with the SharkNet technology. So that's why I'm worried about the confusion there, and I just wanted to limit to as well as equipment and training so it stays on focus with the drones.
Councillor De Luca.
Thanks. Are we in debate now?
Well, yes, we are.
Thank you.
I thought we were almost going to vote on it, but
me too.
We're veering dangerously all
Madam
over the
Mayor.
place.
I speak in favour of the motion before us, and I thank Councillor Bingham and Harvey for bringing this important matter before the chamber. I also wish to reiterate my sympathy to the Psalakis family on the tragic loss at DY, and I think we all share in that. The volunteer surf lifesavers deserve nothing but commendation. They should not be criticised in any way, and I think that was a very poorly worded comment earlier.
Procedural motion. Sorry, no. He is imputing improper things. Let me find out.
Okay, we'll just move on.
Procedural, act of disorder, 16.11D. Insults, makes unfavourable personal remarks or imputes improper
And that's
motives.
what occurred when
I
that
know
comment
very
was
much that
made.
Surf Lifesaving Australia do a wonderful job. I have many friends doing that, but the
Madam
truth
Mayor,
remains.
Councillor Hackman, I'm ruling on this and saying we're moving on. Withdraw your comment. I don't think you realised what you said, but just withdraw your comment and then we can move on.
Thank you. So was it withdrawn?
I was representing what a community group told me. While I respect and love Surf Lifesaving Australia, my comment stands, but I don't sit here and listen to what he is saying about me.
Okay, so Councillor Hackman, you're not withdrawing what you were saying?
I'd like to replace it with saying Surf Lifesaving Australia New South Wales do a really wonderful job. However, they do need to do some additional...
I'm sorry. Councillor Hackman, you either withdraw your comment or please just remove yourself while we vote this
In the
through.
interests of moving on, I'll withdraw my comment.
Thank you. Councillor De Luca.
Thanks, Madam Mayor. Surf Lifesaving does deserve every commendation possible. This motion is to assist both paid and volunteer lifesavers because, as I said earlier, with the drones, it has been shown that whenever there's a wind, they go out of action. So it's important to supplement that. But In relation to the surveillance by boat patrols, there's no intent for increased netting or anything else. It's just mere surveillance. So I just want to make that clear. I think this is a good motion. It seeks support from the state government. It seeks support of both our paid lifeguards as well as our volunteer lifesavers, and I commend it now in its current form to the chamber.
Okay, with that, I move that we vote on this motion. All those in favour? Deputy Mayor Bingham, Councillor Williams, Councillor Hernjack, Councillor Hackman. Oh, sorry, I hadn't looked all the way. It's unanimous. That's nice and easy. After that, furious agreement. Right, 14.5. Update on the expenses policy. I think Councillor De Luca, I think you put this one out. You're
Yes,
moving
I
as
do
is?
have an amendment,
Okay.
and that's been sent some time ago.
Proceed anyway, because we need to actually see it. And I'll ask if you've got a seconder once we see it. It's coming, I'm sure.
Should not this be moved as an amendment to the original notice of motion?
Madam Mayor, I'll foreshadow the original motion.
Okay. It's at the moment, because this motion was Councillor Hackman and Hernjacks. I'm just asking about the amendment, if you're happy with that. Or if not, then it'll be...
Look, I'll say no. I think what we want is for staff to prepare an independent report on this, so I don't think we should be getting into the weeds or bringing politics into it.
Yeah, yep.
Could I ask Councillor De Luca to let us know how different this was to something else that he'd raised?
Okay, so sorry, Councillor Hackman, let's just give us time to read it first. Councillor De Luca, just hold off on your answers.
Just on a point of process, based on what Councillor Hackman raised, this seems very similar to an amendment that also lost less than 3 months ago, so I'm wondering if it's even possible to put it up within that time frame.
Can I comment on that?
You might as well, Councillor De Luca. Why
Thank you.
don't
It's in different form in that the substantive motion seeks a report. This is asking of the report that it contemplate these issues.
Madam Mayor, through your question to staff, it seems to me a number of these matters just simply reflect the existing policy. Are the staff able to comment what would be new through this? Because to my mind, C is already basically part of the policy. We already basically do D. Oh, well, not referred to council, but anyway.
Through you, Chair, The amendment as proposed is putting a series of points together to contemplate within the report that comes back to council about possible amendments. So there would not be an issue with the amendment as it stands, whether or not there's similarity with existing provisions in the clause that would form part of the report, I would imagine.
Is there anything after 2C that we're missing? Does it scroll further down? Okay, all right.
So can I speak on that? What's the seconder? Are you happy to second it? Thanks.
Councillor Singh is the seconder.
Thanks, Madam Mayor. This is to facilitate a proper review of the current policy and draw attention to some issues that have been raised and ambiguities that have been raised. While there has been extensive commentary by certain councillors on Clause 1C, that at no time may a councillor claim expenses while campaigning, attending protests or at political party activities, unfortunately we have seen 3 councillors attend protests. I acknowledge the comment by Councillor Hernjack at the September 16 meeting where he said that he believed that Clause C was already covered by way of personal benefit, political or other, and that was not needed. However, I think it does need better defining and definition because unfortunately that has not prevented councillors, 3 councillors, from claiming expenses for an attendance at a protest. This is not a hard and fast statutory implementation.
What's your point of order, Councillor Glanville?
I'm just concerned about the comment about 3 councillors attending a protest and the potential that there's some inaccuracy there. Could the councillor clarify what the nature of this allegation is?
So if you actually read through the expenses of each council law, you'll see that 3 councillors have claimed expenses to attend the Newcastle blockade protest. Was my time stopped? So
looks like it. It's not ticking down. So.
Thank you.
Point of order, Madam Mayor.
Sorry, another point of order, Councillor Beaujean.
Councillor De Luca just mentioned the Newcastle Rising Tide Conference. I believe earlier in this meeting, last week, we voted that those councillors attended the Rising Tide Conference and not a protest as part of our annual report. If staff could clarify.
Through to the CEO.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Last week was a long time ago, councillors. I don't recall the particulars of that. If we could hold that question while we confer, while the debate continues, I can come back to you.
Thank you. So this motion is to seek reporting, proper accountability and transparency. It also opens it up to better processes for approval of these matters and it be in open session and that there be reporting in open session of council meetings. Now, as I said, this isn't an implementation yet. It's for staff to contemplate. One thing I will say is on review of certain applications and to the issue that Councillor Bourgeard raised, on some applications, the specificity of what was being attended and the dates do not equate. So that's why I think it is important. And also under the Warringah days, as Councillor Hines actually identified in September, all councillors were required to present a report to ensure after a conference that the public were made aware by way of report of what the conference was about, what was achieved, and as most people would know, I would always submit a report. Even after the conference that I attended, not only did I write to council staff on numerous issues to do with suicide prevention, but I also asked questions on notice. And I just think that's important for public transparency.
Okay, and apparently we've now got an answer to your question, Councillor Beaujard.
Oh, thank you, Madam Mayor. I'm eagerly waiting the response.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Apologies, councillors, for that delay. Prior to the adjournment, Council did adopt the annual report. That annual report did document all councillor expenses during that period.
Thank you.
Okay,
Question?
Right, I just want to see if the mover of the amendment wants to speak. We're trying to do it in the right order. Councillor Hackman, questions?
Oh, thank you. I just have a question for staff through you, Mayor Hines. Just in relation to Part 8A of the Local Government Regulation 2021, I'm wondering under section 185.4, is it that councillors must make all reasonable efforts to undertake any ongoing professional development programs to help with their job?
Through you, Chair, without looking up the particular reference, yes, there is a clause in the regulation that states that councillors should undertake necessary professional development they see necessary to ensure they're completing their role.
And another question, thank you. Under that Office of Local Government, under section 23A, is it true that the guidelines state that councillors should be made aware of any knowledge, skills and personal attributes that are expected of them in their civic duties, and that council should be providing opportunities for them to undertake professional development to fulfil their roles?
Through you, Chair, I don't have the clauses to hand, but the general position of what you've noted in terms of councillors taking steps to be suitably skilled and council providing opportunities for their professional development does exist.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
I have an addition, Madam Mayor, when we're in debate.
Okay. Is it an addition to the amendment?
Yes.
Okay. Can we see what that addition...
I haven't sent it through to governance. It's quite brief. I'll read it if I can.
Okay. And Councillor De Luca, if you watch now to see what the addition is.
If I could add a 2D, please. That all councillor accepted or rejected gifts and benefits are provided as part of this report. Because I think the two go hand in hand, and without both, you only have half the story. Happy to accept that, Councillor De Luca?
Yes.
Good.
I'd like to propose an addition as well.
Okay, is Councillor Singh happy with that addition? Yep. Councillor Hackman?
That any business undertaken outside of the LGA has a clear line item that expresses the benefit to our ratepayers. Councillor De Luca, are you happy to accept that?
It's not up there yet. Hang on.
Sorry.
We're happy with that, Councillor De Luca?
That's fine, but I will like to add E.
I think we're going
Well, we
through the
may as
alphabet
well
here.
cover the main issues. That in relation to childcare,
Can we just check that this is legal?
Yes, it is.
Staff,
Why don't we
please.
just see first what it actually is? Because as we know from all the local government conferences, that we encourage women and childcare as much as possible. So let's just see what
Well, it
this
could
is.
be men requiring childcare as well, so don't be...
Or end of care life. It's true. Thank you for your focus on equity, Councillor DeLuca.
And yes,
Councillor Hackman, please withdraw. Sorry, what is the
It was a
rest
thank
of
you.
your...
she's very touchy on something. Why are you so touchy?
No commentary between either councillors, please.
Just asking.
All right,
Just asking.
Councillor DeLuca, in relation
Thank you.
to childcare.
In relation to childcare, that clear guidelines be set on providers, particularly when claiming reimbursement whereby a spouse or relative provides such services.
Okay.
Can I suggest a change to that wording, because I believe the language of the policy relates to not just childcare but other paid
Do you
care
mean
for
the
other...
child
In relation
care
to
gap
F,
fee? What?
It's the policy allows not just childcare but other forms of paid care for people for whom the councillor has
Carer?
caring responsibilities. So I just think it needs to be framed more generally.
Yep, that's fine. So both childcare and carer responsibilities?
It would be other paid carers.
Okay, that's fine. Thanks for that.
Doesn't need responsibilities.
Councillor DeLuca, could I just ask, because I can't see the rest of the points on the next page, but when councillors are printing materials and asking for reimbursement by ratepayers, is there anything here that lists that should be disclosed, what's on those papers, who they get posted to, what the call to action is, if it's data mining or information? Has that been covered in any of the points?
Well, I know Councillor Glanville and I have had brochures printed just for community meetings. Is that what you mean?
No, I was just asking whether or not that the content of it is, you know, in terms of open information and transparency. Do you have any points there that specify
No,
sharing of
but
that?
I'm happy to include that if staff think that's appropriate. I'm happy for that to be included.
Staff? Gosh, I wish we just got a report straight from staff.
So F, and like why we limited it to that, we could also include videos on Instagram because some councillors have charged significant funds to buy microphones or Canva, things like that. So if you want to include that too. Oh.
Okay, so councillors, please stop talking between yourselves and only through the mayor. Just, I totally get it. It's a little bit earlier than normal, but in reality, this is not proper protocol at a council meeting.
Okay, well,
All right.
I'll stop there. I'm happy with what's there.
Right, okay, so I have got other people up, including Councillor Hernjack. I'm just going to name you. Councillor Hernjack, Councillor Causey. I did have Councillor Hackman, but I don't know if she's already spoken or asked questions, but we'll get to that. And now we've got Councillor Beaujard as well, but you were foreshadowing. I totally get that. Your light wasn't on, but anyway. All right, so there's a number of you. Councillor Hernjack, could you start first?
Thanks, Mayor. I would just ask Councillor DeLuca in 1C, the attending protests I think might have unintended consequences. I know that a number of councillors recently attended a protest about the Indigo by Moran development in Narrabeen. So I wonder if you would be accepting of replacing that with attending events out of area that have no relation to local government responsibilities.
Does that include funerals?
I think,
Councillor Hackman, please don't add to this. We're just going from one
I'm
to
not
the other.
going to accept that because I think the actual protest regarding Indigo was not of a political nature, nor was it classed illegal by New South Wales Police, whereas the Festivus, I think that's what it was called, was classified by police as illegal and over 130 people were arrested.
Point of order, Councillor Beaujard. Your light's not on, I'm sorry. I mean, you could all talk into the ether, but, you know, it would be nice if people could hear you.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I wonder, and staff might not be able to clarify, I might have to take this on notice, but I think Councillor De Luca may be mistaken when he says that the protest or conference or event in Newcastle was unlawful. I believe a Form 1 was issued and accepted, and I also believe there was a Supreme Court ruling removing the New South Wales Government proposed maritime exclusion zone.
Through you, Chair, I do not have that information to provide any comment.
Okay, Councillor Causey,
I am keen now, we could go on all night with list after list. However, I'm happy with the proposals before us. So I'm going to leave it at that, and if anyone else wishes to move anything by amendment, please do so. But the whole point of this is to ensure transparency, integrity in process and proper process. So if that is it, I'm happy to now speak on the motion unless there are
Okay,
other
let's
amendments.
just move on. Speak on the motion, Councillor De Luca. I know lots of people here have something to say. We also just want to double check. Councillor Beaujard, did you want to foreshadow a motion on this?
I'd like to foreshadow the original motion.
Original
please, Madam Mayor.
motion. Okay, so we'll keep that in the back of our mind. Oh, okay, all right. Yours is an amendment or foreshadowing a motion as well?
An amendment.
So I think we can only have one amendment at a
Yes,
time.
it's always one amendment
Thank
at the
you.
time, so we're now concentrating on this one. Councillor De Luca.
Thanks, Madam Mayor. This motion, as I said earlier, it is to ensure transparency and proper process. We have seen serious and significant concerns raised in the community and by the media, and I think we need to guide staff on what is needed in the future by way of policy. Staff can only determine applications based on the information that's provided in applications, and so this is to try and ensure better information. We do have anomalies whereby I don't think if people actually look at some of the expenditure in these copious amounts of documents, for example, on the 6th of June, one councillor claimed over $3,400 for that day for childcare. Now, just on first look at that, that looks concerning. However, if there was more specificity to the matter, there might be an explanation. We see a lot of councillors, despite us being provided with electronic devices, laptops, mobile phones, etc., we see a great number of councillors claiming additionally for internet, for subscriptions to programs, to buy microphones for videos, and also a good point was raised with publications. What about the use of council resources for political publications, like using a meeting room as an example to congratulate a political associate? These are all things that I think need better definition to ensure that our ratepayers are happy with what we are doing and that they actually know what we're doing and the reasons why we are doing it.
Thank you. Councillor De Luca. Councillor Singh, do you want to add anything? If we could have some lights off, that would be nice.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I think Mr. Vincent De Luca made a very point clearly. We're not here to, we're just asking for the transparency to make sure that our community and ratepayers understandable where we're spending the money. As being a councillor, we have a right to expenditure and we have a right to claim what we need to, but make sure we're not here to fight or against each other. To make sure our community needs to know where we're spending the money. So if we do so, spending on the right things, that's all we ask for here. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Okay, thank you. All right, so we're still on this amendment. Councillor Causey, or can I put this to the vote, or Councillor Causey?
I would like to speak against this amendment. I am actually finding this extremely frustrating. For the first 3 years on council, I think my expenses came to a total of about $16,000, which was, I think, about $1,000 more than one of the proponents of this motion. Now, if we're talking about saving money on this council, getting every application for an attendance at a conference and taking that to open meeting of the council, as far as I'm concerned, is a complete waste of time. Similarly for learning and development courses, which are required under the Act. At no time may a councillor claim expenses while campaigning, attending protests or at any political party activities. We have to trust that the staff actually know how to carry out their duties. And if they don't, then we have to raise the issue with the staff. I'm not going to go through all these points, but I'm actually particularly upset about the business about childcare. For anybody who's ever had a child and had to put them in childcare, late in the evening, it is extremely expensive and it's often extremely difficult to do. So to be picking on somebody because of the childcare that they've taken is absolutely beyond the pale.
Just a point
I find
of order.
that this is a complete waste of time.
What's your point of order?
Thanks, Madam Mayor. My point of order is in accordance with clause 16.11D, in that it infers improper motives and is unfavourable personal remarks and insulting. This is about transparency and it's about $4,000 or over being spent in one day on childcare by one person. I think the community have a fair right to question that expenditure.
Okay, thank you, Councillor De Luca. I understand why you're saying it, but I'm actually going to overrule it and ask Councillor Causey to continue, only because I do think that it's important that people hear each other's perspectives. And Councillor Causey, please just continue. You've got 1 minute 29 left.
I absolutely agree there should be transparency, but I think we all need to take the plank out of our own eyes before we start doing the same for other people, because I know that having looked at some of those, in fact looked at all of those expenses sheets, there are some things there that are completely obscure to me how the money was spent. Yeah, I do agree that it would be much better to have very clear records of how money was spent. For example, if somebody's going to a funeral at somewhere like Gymea where there is no cemetery, why would that be happening?
On a point of order.
Your point of order?
That is
Councillor?
an adverse reflection, and it actually is evidence of a defamatory comment made by a Greens member on Facebook. That funeral was in relation to a community leader who has performed decades of community services to the Northern Beaches. So that just shows why some people.
Okay, thank you, Councillor De Luca.
Thank you.
All right.
And I hope you will ask the Greens to stop spreading misinformation on that one.
Okay, so
Point of order.
Councillor De Luca.
That is
just-
actually imputing improper motives by
Yes.
dragging the Greens into
Your
this.
councillors, please.
Excuse, I'm not
Councillor
talking to you. I'm
DeLuca,
waiting for a
stop.
decision from the chair.
Councillor Hernjack, I'm just going to overrule all of you and just ask Councillor Causey, 40 seconds left. Keep it generic. The finger pointing at each other is really obvious. Just keep it generic, please.
My point is that we need to have explanations about why we're going to something, and that, and I believe that the original motion basically was pointing us in that direction. So, thank you.
Okay, thank you. I had Councillor Hackman next, but you may have, okay.
Reserve my right, thanks.
All right, thanks. Councillor Beaujard.
Thank you, Madam.
I know you were foreshadowing, but we're already on an amendment, so...
So I might speak against the amendment if I may,
all right, thank
and I'll
you.
try and be brief. I think what's gone on in the last 45 minutes to an hour is the issue with this amendment. Councillors can wrap themselves in a Gordian knot if they try to get so specific about all of the individual things they want staff to do. I think while transparency is critical, I think we're also forgetting that what the expenses and facilities policy creates is equity, the ability for people from all walks of life to become councillors and act and represent their community. That's critical to a functioning democracy. By getting specific about items and directing staff down little things that might have annoyed you or you might have gone on to another councillor about, and we were all guilty of it, so I'm not imputing anything on anyone, I'm not imputing on myself. I think we can end up wrapped in something that doesn't fulfil the goals of that. I actually think not only is our existing policy possibly fit for purpose, but it's my understanding that we run internal audits and report to the Audit Risk and Improvement Committee on our expenses. And apart from Councillor Grattan, I don't think many of us have an accountancy qualification or the ability to properly audit expenses. You don't want either. You sound like you do though, Councillor Grattan. So that's why I think when we wrap ourselves in knots with amendments like this, we can do more harm than good. And that's why I'm not in favour of us moving on with this amendment. Thank you.
Councillor Hernjack, you were next.
Let's just get on with it.
Guess what? I've had to listen to a lot of you. I'm going to just add a very short point on here. No, we're way past questions. But don't worry, there's always another amendment around the corner. I do agree what was said earlier. I mean, having been on council for 13 years, it's the first time I've ever seen what people are claiming. And I do agree that we have policies that we have guidelines about. And I can totally understand it as a new councillor trying to work out what you can and can't claim. And of course, everyone can say, well, it's covered under the policy, but even if I think of a particular high-level Liberal who used something under the policy as a helicopter, it still didn't quite pass the pub test. So, and times have changed. I don't know if it's worthwhile taking pot shots. It certainly isn't. I'm kind of old enough and ugly enough that we need to move on from this. I do think we need to probably have a bit of reporting on it so that we are open with each other about what we're doing. I'm sure the community would like to see what we're claiming, but saying we do this and don't do that could be a problem. I do agree actually with something from the previous council that we used to write these reports saying why we liked where we went to and what we brought back to our community. If I think with cringing how it was when I first wrote my reports, I've moved on probably a bit from that. So I'd just like to say, councillors, give it some thought. We can always get back to this, but the one horrifying part to me out of all the huge business that council does, that as soon as we vote on anything to do with ourselves, this goes on for about an hour. And we need to move on from that. We've had some big items to talk about tonight, and here we are with an incredible amount of time on a policy that's all about us. Okay. Can we just now move on and put it to the vote? Okay. Right. All those in favour of the amendment? Councillor Hernjack, Councillor Glanville, Councillor Giltnan, Councillor DeLuca, Councillor Singh. I'll even put my hand up. Councillor myself. Those against? Deputy Mayor Bingham, Councillor Williams, Councillor Hackman, Councillor Beaujard, Councillor Harvey, Councillor Grattan, Councillor Robins, Councillor Dillon and Councillor Causey. It's become something lost. There we go. All right, so back to the original motion.
Is it okay if I say something quickly about my original motion?
Madam Mayor, point of order, I foreshadowed
Yes,
this
you
amendment.
did foreshadow it.
Madam Mayor, it was already on, that was an amendment.
Councillor Beaujard foreshadowed the original motion.
But it didn't.
No, Councillor Beaujard did. I've even written it here. Yep.
But the amendment was lost, so it just goes back to the original motion.
Yes.
It's not a foreshadowed motion, it's just a motion.
Okay, all right, perfect. Oh, here we go again. Just thinking of the words that were already said by me, please can we keep this tight so we can move on to other things?
Yes, I just wanted to say the community expects transparency, and the community, I'm disappointed to say, I'm disappointed in myself tonight about the bickering, because it does seem like it's been personal, what's been put through the media, and I don't think the community deserves that. I think we should be focusing on core issues, but I also don't think that a 22-year-old new councillor should be put through what he was put through for the benefit of what exactly. It just seems quite unnecessary, and I am grateful, Mayor Hines, that you're bringing this back to really just focusing on what we can do to deliver for the community. My original motion was essentially about making sure that we are improving the quality of our policy, and that's what we do as people who are sitting on this council. We improve the quality of policy when we learn more. And I think while we don't want to be down in the weeds, who is in the weeds are our staff, and I think that they are best placed to inform us how this policy can be improved. So I look forward to receiving the report and going on this journey of continual improvement with the council and with the community.
Thank you, Councillor Hernjack as the seconder, since your mover already jumped in.
Thanks, Mayor. Look, public trust is the foundation of the work we do, and it should be paramount for all councillors and all of their actions. And without it, every decision we make is weakened, especially when we don't have the trust of the community along with us. So I want to begin by acknowledging the recent media coverage surrounding my own expenses. I won't shy away from it. Transparency and accountability are cornerstones of public service, and when questions are raised, it's only right that I stand here and address them openly. If there are questions and lessons to be learned, I'm prepared to learn them. If there are improvements to be made, I'm prepared to make them. At the same time, I think it's important that this issue and conversation is not framed around one councillor alone. The issue of expenses is bigger than just myself. We all know that councillor expenses cover a wide range of activities, conferences, travel, and community representation. And while each claim may be within policy, the public perception of value for money matters just as much as the technical compliance. I support measures that strengthen reporting, improve transparency, and set clearer boundaries. Not because I want to deflect attention from myself, as someone in the public gallery claimed last week, but because I believe our residents deserve a council that holds itself to the highest standards consistently across all councillors. Our residents expect that every dollar spent by councillors delivers a clear benefit to the Northern Beaches. Yet, when expenses are claimed that don't have an obvious connection to our local area, or even the responsibilities of local government under the Act, it does raise legitimate questions. Even if technically permitted under the policy, the perception is what matters most. If the community cannot see how an expense directly improves services, strengthens local engagements, represents local community, or advances outcomes here on the Northern Beaches, then that trust is eroded. And trust, once lost, is hard to rebuild. Ultimately, the community deserves confidence that council expenses are not just compliant with policy, but visibly in the public interest. And I do have faith that our staff will come back with a report that covers the issues that were discussed in the amendment, and I look forward to seeing that. Thanks.
Thank you. Councillor Glanville, you had your light on.
Thanks. Look, I think transparency is important. We have a responsibility to use public funds responsibly, but I do want to express my disappointment about how this has all played out in the public eye. I think it was really disappointing, for example, that through this expenses debate, for example, personal information about particular councillors was doxed to the media, and they were more or less stalked by parts of the media, and I think that's really unfortunate. I think it's become unfortunate that there's finger pointing in all directions at all councillors about, well, you spent money on this and you spent money on this. I don't actually think that that lends itself to a culture of collegiality. I don't think it really does much in terms of promoting responsible use of funds, because in my observation from looking through the expenses, these things come in swings and roundabouts. Some years, some of us spend more on something. Other years, some of us spend less, and by and large, it all ends up in much the same place. Two of my colleagues did the AICD course, so of course they're going to have big bickies expenditure this year, but they'll only do the course once. And you know, in the past, other councillors who, you know, former councillors who are no longer in the chamber also did the AICD course, but then that information was decontextualised about two other councillors' expenses and used as this political football when, you know, the same accusations could be made about other people. I think that this is, I think the community hates politicians arguing with politicians about the sort of meta of what politicians do. I support the motion because clearly this has become an issue of community interest, but I really do hope that we can draw a line under this one and move on and for it to stop becoming this political football.
Councillor Causey.
Sorry, I support exactly what Councillor Glanville said. I think that this motion has unfortunately been prompted by a long chain of political attack, media attacks. The recipients of those attacks have had very little opportunity to respond, and if they had responded would have been very unlikely to have had a fair hearing with a balanced report. I think that I am concerned that there has been a suggestion that we would be voting on expenses in the council forum because it would be, you could not eliminate politics from that forum. So I believe this is the most appropriate way of dealing with the issue, and again, as Councillor Glanville said, I hope this will put it to bed.
Okay, thank you. With that, we'll just put this motion to the vote. All those in favour? Deputy Mayor Bingham, William, it's okay, unanimous. How long did we spend on that? Right, next one, 14.6, Councillor Glanville and Beaujard. I notice a motion on North Kilkill and Freshwater Surf Life Saving Clubs. Councillor Beaujard, you're the one who actually pulled it out.
I had a couple of brief comments. If
It's your notice of motion.
I don't know whether anyone's got any questions.
If you've got any questions, does anyone have any questions? No.
Yes.
So then the
I
yes.
did.
You?
Sorry.
Okay, Councillor DeLuca.
Just in relation to the actual recognition of those two new presidents, was any research undertaken to ascertain whether other surf lifesaving clubs had elected their first female presidents? I know, but for the first time.
Vince, I know that Newport just elected a female president.
Yes, so can
and
we
so
add
did
that?
Avalon.
Yeah. So can we please, So should
Okay,
we-
looks like we're going to be adding some names. Yes. Well, is it going to be all the female presidents, which wouldn't be very fair for all the male presidents, or all the new first time?
All the new first time.
I think it should be all the new. Yeah.
Yes. Okay, we've got an agreement. Do the mover and the seconder agree with that?
I mean, it would be good if maybe we could not workshop this on the floor, given that it's been a while, but
I think everyone around the table would be very happy if we just congratulated all the new first-time female presidents at a surf club. Since we got 21 of them on the Northern Beaches. First-time clubs that have a female president for the very first time. There we go.
Yes, and I would add to write to them and congratulate them on their appointment, just because the recognition was part of the nom, right?
I think that's important.
Yep. I'll be writing some letters. Wonderful. Anyone have any other questions? Anyone have anything else to say?
yes.
Point 1 isn't correct, so we need that. Oh, here we go. Almost. No, it is all first-time female clubs, if that makes sense. And that might mosey along a couple of clubs that are maybe a bit stuck in the 1990s. I was being polite. I think we're almost there. There should be an F for Fred somewhere at the end of the sentence. I think we've got the gist on this now. Anything else we need to add to this? All right, we ready, mover and seconder,
Yes.
to put this to the vote? Do you want to say something? Write a reply.
Briefly,
Very
briefly. I
briefly.
didn't even have a speech to reply.
Right.
Look, I think that it's significant to recognise milestones when they happen, and working with Councillor Beaujard, we both became aware that in this year, 2 of our local surf clubs for the first time elected their first female presidents, Peter Fairley at North Curly and Shani Dyer at Freshwater Surf Club. I think it's worth celebrating this because surf clubs are an important part of our local culture and community, and we should celebrate that women are breaking through glass ceilings in these important organisations, and that, historically a lot of recreational clubs, women didn't have that role, and every time a glass ceiling is broken, it is important to actually celebrate that. And I know that having spoken with particularly Peter, she's got some really fresh eyes. She wants to run over things, and so that new input of female leadership is really important in the culture of those organisations. So I want to congratulate them and any other first-time female presidents of surf clubs.
Councillor.
Seconder, probably, Madam Mayor,
Yes.
just following procedure.
Yeah.
Just to congratulate all first-time female surf club presidents, but especially from our ward, Curl Surf Lifesaving Club and Freshwater Surf Lifesaving Club. It's nice when you see glass ceilings being broken, and we're seeing them all over the place.
Thank you. I can say that as someone who visits almost all of the clubs up and down the beaches, we're proud of all of them, and it's always exciting when there is a bit of a change happening. Councillor De Luca.
Thanks, Madam Mayor. Well, sorry, Ruth and I are just having a domestic. I'd like to congratulate Peter Fairley as well as Shani Dyer, but also point to the Trailblazers. As a mutual friend of these people, as am I, we have to look at those women who set the scene many years ago and even introduced females into surf lifesaving. And it was the Northern Beaches that did that. Lois Clark, OAM, ensured the first ever female nipperettes at DY Surf Lifesaving Club. Chrissy Andrew was the first ever person at DY Surf Lifesaving, first ever female to hold the position of secretary, and Trish Newton, OAM, the first ever female to become a president of a surf lifesaving club on the Northern Beaches. We have so many hard-working volunteers on the Northern Beaches serving our brilliant volunteer surf lifesaving clubs, and indeed all our sporting and community organisations. South Narrabeen, as my colleague Councillor Robins has pointed out, has Peter as its female president, and she's already doing a great job. At North Kilkeel, I'd particularly like to pay tribute to the retiring president, Glenn Slater, because he has done extraordinary work to ensure inclusion, particularly with kids with a disability, through the Ripper Nippers, and also not just kids, but older people as well. So it's just so great to see so many of our surf lifesaving clubs in capable hands, but inspiring hands that will serve the needs and interests of those clubs very much for the future.
Given there's no dissent, can we put the motion?
Oh, I thought I was looking at your name on my little list here going, oh, do I ask or don't I? Okay. Can we put this to the vote? All those in favour? Unanimous, declare that carried. Thank you very much. Now we're on to a very different topic. 14.7, Councillor De Luca.
Thanks, Madam Mayor.
Councillor Hernjack pulled this one out.
Yeah, I have an amendment that I'll move after Councillor.
Okay, so Councillor De Luca.
Thanks, Madam Mayor. This motion arises from speeches that we've heard from residents as well as correspondence. As we all know, I think, unfortunately, the state government has stunted us somewhat in relation to the Frenchs Forest Precinct, in that the next two stages of progression for the Frenchs Forest Precinct are reliant upon the building of the tunnel and also the rapid transport network east to west. And we know that the state government has more or less abandoned funding of the tunnel. So it is a concern what's going to now happen in the Frenchs Forest Precinct. And we know that there is significant interest and concern because with the current traffic generation from the hospital and other existing developments, it is somewhat chaos, and it's definitely very hard to get through Warringah Road. The area has been the subject, as we all know, of extensive study and analysis by Council and relevant New South Wales government agencies. Council has worked closely with an actively engaged community to prepare the Northern Beaches Hospital Structure Plan, which outlines the 20-year vision. In formulating the plan, careful consideration was given to environmental, social, economic, traffic, transport and accessibility issues. So it's time for us to call upon the state government to actually do what it originally promised and deliver us the essential infrastructure that is needed. And I think by actually resolving this, not only is it supporting local community who are begging for this, it is supporting the progress of that precinct as a whole and the wider community.
Okay, thank you. Just to let you know, I'll second this one. Councillor Hernjack.
Thanks, Mayor. I've got an alternate motion that should be with governance.
Is it a motion or an addition?
I think it changes it a bit too much for it to be considered an addition.
Okay, let's have a look.
Yes, I don't think we can accept that addition because it is pretty extensive.
Yes, and point C I don't agree with at the moment. What I will say is you may or may not be pleased that the Mayor of Mosman and myself, while we were at the conference this morning, did do a little bit of a video together, certainly reaffirming that the biggest problem that's going to be happening on the northern beaches and on the lower North Shore is all about transport and infrastructure. So I suspect we will be sending, asking for meetings, sending many strongly worded letters and all kinds of things over the next 6 months.
Mayor, just before I start, look, I crave consensus, so I'm just wondering what your opposition to C might be. I'd be happy to change that if it would be more accepting to other councillors. I understand that's the current state government target on the site.
Yep. I am not happy with the fact that you are now being really descriptive on this. But a seconder might be Councillor Williams, maybe, asking. No response. Councillor Glanville seconding it.
All right, I'll speak to that. Thanks, Mayor.
Yep.
This amendment addresses several practical issues relating to the town centre and the future development. So it sets out clear requests to the state government and associated agencies to ensure that these planning outcomes align with community needs and council strategic priorities. The current precinct planning does not provide for a dedicated community centre. Community facilities are a standard component of town centre planning, supporting social cohesion and providing space for local organisations, events and services. The amendment would request delivery of such a facility as part of the precinct plan. Transport planning must reflect the impact of recent low and medium-rise housing reforms. These reforms will increase residential density in Frenchs Forest, leading to high demand for public transport and road capacity. The amendment calls for Transport for New South Wales to undertake a comprehensive review of transport requirements for the town centre that should assess projected growth, model future demand, and identify infrastructure upgrades needed to maintain accessibility and efficiency. Housing diversity is a key element of sustainable urban development. The former high school site includes a 15% affordable housing contribution. Retaining this is important to ensure that the town centre accommodates a range of income levels and household types. Affordable housing supports essential workers, young families and older residents, ultimately contributing to a balanced and inclusive community. An east-west bus rapid transit link between Frenchs Forest, Chatswood and DY has already been identified as a priority transport project. A commitment to deliver this link within the current term of government is necessary to ensure that high-quality, frequent and reliable transport is in place before significant development occurs. This BRT will provide reliable, efficient connections to major employment and service centres, reducing car dependency and supporting the viability of the town centre for developers. Finally, planning reforms introduced by the state government have implications for the original vision for the town centre. Council must ensure that these reforms are consistent with our strategic priorities and community expectations. The amendment requests a meeting with the department to discuss these impacts and to establish alignment between the local and state planning objectives. Ultimately, this amendment seeks to secure community facilities, ensure adequate transport planning, retain the existing affordable housing contribution, deliver essential public transport infrastructure, and align planning reforms with our local priorities. I commend this to the Chamber. Thanks.
Okay, thank you. Any questions of the staff? I might ask, yes, Councillor De Luca?
Sorry, if, could you just go down a bit, Governance? I think the import of the meeting, are we specific enough in our motion calling upon a meeting, or is it axiomatic?
I think a meeting definitely, oh, well, I'm already aware that there's a meeting request in with a particular minister, but happy to ask for more meetings.
Okay, so happy to include that.
Yep, I had tried to incorporate the original intent from your motion in point E. Is there something that would strengthen that? Request a meeting with the Department of Planning.
Can I just share a thought while you're thinking about that, Councillor De Luca? I'm very aware that this is everything old is new again, and I do think some things have changed. So I absolutely agree that we need to have an east-west bus transport link. It's been out there for at least 7 years I can think of that we've been asking. And yes, we did get a bus given to us, but nobody knew about it, and it's certainly not a beeline bus, let's put it that way. But I do think that we're repeating ourselves over and over again now about the planning reforms. I think that there is not one person at this chamber who doesn't think anything other than we need to talk and understand what's happening here. I understand you're reaffirming existing things that we've already said, but I don't see a whole heap of anything new here. I think we're all on the same page, in all honesty. It's just you're being very specific and having time on council and seeing that, because sometimes you want outcomes, doesn't mean you drive to say that's the only outcome I want, when we could maybe end up with something quite different. I've certainly had people coming to me already asking about metros and all kinds of different things now, so you just never know where we may end up with if we're already being so descriptive about what we want. That's my fear.
So if you're happy, Mayor Hines, to just include request a meeting with the Minister and Department of Planning, Housing and Infrastructure, to include that in our...
Yep.
Yep.
Happy.
And we can certainly take those issues on board, whoever goes to the meeting.
Sorry, procedurally, aren't we discussing the amendment? Why are we amending the original motion?
No, we're discussing the amendment at the moment, but I can see Councillor De Luca is looking to maybe pinch a part of that amendment and replicate it.
Could I just ask you, Mayor, if the removal of point C would make it more palatable for you to support the amendment? Or do you just have issues with the entire thing? Ultimately, we've got a new government, we've got a lot of planning changes, and I think it's important we just reiterate what's been promised to us and what we've gone to our community and consulted on, and
Well,
it leaves it open for change in the future.
In all honesty, Councillor Hernjack, that's part of the problem. We did a lot of community consultation and then everything stopped. So I honestly think there needs to be a new discussion had. I'm already aware that the ministers don't really have a plan for our future, so therefore some of us are already talking about what the future could be. And sure, old plans are always great, new again, but things have changed.
All right, well, in that case, I will keep...
So why have we highlighted the minister and the...
That's the addition from Councillor De Luca.
Okay.
I am happy to keep A, B and E, and I can get rid of the other provisions, and that way we're not just reiterating existing and we are asking for action.
Rachel. It can all be together.
Okay,
But
so we're
this is
happy.
this amendment.
We're happy to incorporate that into ours.
I think that we've already got an amendment before the council, and I'd be fine just leaving it like this.
Okay, if this is coming down to whose name's on the papers, I'm happy to not have my name on there and put three names together if that gets a bit of... I suspect we're all agreeing very strongly with each other without wordsmithing too much. I honestly think you all agree with each other. I'm happy to take my name off this whole thing.
Can we just roll up so I can see the original motion, please?
Can I just add in the Spit Bridge gridlock in there as well?
Oh, yes, please.
It is a French's Forest planning motion.
All right. No, we'll stay here, but we know what we'll be voting on next year. So are we happy with some kind of...
So I'm happy to include A, B and C, and I think to sort of combined right to local, state and federal members, so that's
Okay.
exactly the same, so
Yes,
that's
so
redundant.
number 2 is the same.
So just tack on 3 and just re-letter. And I'm happy if Ethan's the seconder.
Sorry, what's the addition?
There's no addition,
Okay.
so I'm happy to include yours in the original substantive motion, A, B and C.
I would want to keep the wording for 2 in the amendment.
It's already in the original
It's
as well.
already in the
They're
original.
identical words.
Okay,
Number
fair.
2 was identical in both of them.
Look, as long as the amendment
all
wording
right,
stays the
so-
same, sure.
yeah.
Yeah.
Great.
So then that becomes part of the substantive motion.
A, B and C. Oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
As
Copy
an
A,
addition.
B and C and put it in the original one.
Yeah. And are you happy to second that now, Councillor Honjack?
Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
So it just needs proper re-lettering, but I'm sure you can deal with that later.
All right. So seconded by Councillor Hernjack. Take my name off there.
I would only support it if A and B of the original motion were removed and replaced with the amendment wording. I think it's duplicating. We're asking for a meeting and then another meeting.
Yeah, that's fine.
Well, I mean, it's not fine with me.
No, I said that's fine to...
Thank you, Councillor De Luca.
Okay. All right. Okay. So we'll get rid of the amendment because I think you're all trying to get to the same place but just fuss about some words.
I'm just
personally.
eager to get to cats.
Yes, I can't wait for cats. You'll be pleased to know, first year ever at the government conference, we did not vote on cats. All right, so let's put this to the vote. All those in favour? It's unanimous. Wow, we got there. All right, next one. Exciting on cats. Lots of noting here. There's lots of noting with the letters. Right, Councillor Hernjack, seconded by, was it Councillor Beaujard? You had pulled this out. Were you asking a question? Moving as is? Okay. Do you want to second it or Councillor Glanville can second it?
I'm happy to second it. I've
Okay,
always been a
you're
fan
going
of
to love
cats.
getting involved in the cat world. It's one we vote on every year. Right, Councillor Hernjack.
Thanks, Mayor, and I do apologise for the excessive noting, but it is quite complex legislation, so I wanted to pull out the most critical pieces and make sure that was in the motion. Look, I think all of us know that feral and roaming cats have a massive impact on our local environment. We get a lot of messages on Facebook and emails about roaming cats, and I know recently we've seen a lot of cats in national parks, especially hunting wildlife. I'll probably leave it for my right of reply, but I just hope that we can support this and try to get the state government to act on this issue and align the Companion Animals Act to not just focus solely on dogs.
All right, before we go to the seconder, does anyone have any questions?
Yes.
Okay.
Just in
Then
relation
we'll go to
to
the
4,
seconder, so if you hold on, Councillor
right
Beaujard.
to where it says where it says right to all New South Wales ministers and MPs, don't you mean with portfolio responsibility? You wouldn't want to write to, say, the Minister for Corrective Services on cats. I don't think there's too many in jails at the moment.
The point of 4 is the fact that this amendment is going to be voted on by the Parliament, and the Minister for whatever will be voting on this regardless of their portfolio. So it's important they know Council's position as well.
Okay. By MPs, do you mean upper house MLCs as well? Okay.
Happy to include that if you prefer.
Okay,
MPs and MLCs.
Question from Councillor Dillon.
Through you, Mayor. Ethan, do you mean that...
Councillor Hernjack, do you mean?
Councillor Hernjack, do you mean that your cat can't go out on the lawn on its own? You've got to go with it by number 1B?
Sorry, could we scroll up to 1B? I would assume that, yes, you'd want to make sure that the cat was actually remaining in the front yard. Whether or not you have to have a leash with it, I think is getting into the weeds of it. I think the point is that you don't want to just let your cats out all night and let them do whatever.
But what do you mean by control of a person?
But someone who is able to supervise that animal and make sure that they're not leaving wherever they've been released to hunt native wildlife.
Thank you.
Okay, so now I'm up to the seconder, Councillor, unless there's anyone else with questions? Nope, great. Councillor Beaujard.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. It surprised me the strength of feeling in the community and the amount of correspondence I get about cats. It surprised me more than anybody. But it's nice to see the state government start to put forward bills which address this issue. I understand the difference between cats in rural areas and cats in metropolitan areas, and that's where a lot of the complexity for the government comes from. Being a metropolitan council, cats are an issue for our native wildlife. Coming from the UK, where cats are allowed out all night, it's quite different here. We're losing millions of native mammals across the country from domestic cats. This goes a long way to protecting our environment from those animals and gives enforcement responsibilities back to councils which enforce the Companion Animals Act. It's nice to see the change. I'm hugely in support of it, and I thank Councillor Hernjack for bringing this to the chamber.
Councillor Glanville.
I'd be remiss without acknowledging our former colleague, Councillor Stuart Sprott, who often liked to raise
the cat motion.
Cats. For good reason. Cats are a key threatening process that, cats do what they do, and what they do, unfortunately, in an Australian context, is kill native wildlife. And it's not because cats are bad or evil, but cats should probably be managed in a way that avoids them contributing to the biodiversity crisis that exists. There's a number of extinctions of Australian native animals believed to extend from cats. It's interesting, and it's a point that Councillor Sprott often made, that we have legislation that requires owners to keep their pet dogs under control, but not our pet cats. Although pet cats can contribute to many wildlife predation problems, and not all cats are particularly friendly to humans and can cause incidents. So I commend this motion, and I hope that we can get some realistic, practical, measured, environmentally sensitive legislation happening on this issue.
I'll just quickly say motions on cats are always a very emotive topic. People love their cats. People hate the fact that cats can't help themselves but go after wildlife. Normally the answer is not my cat doesn't do anything. Totally understand very much that people love their cats and don't want them to roam, and you know, every person's cat is perfect, just like their dogs. So I know that over the years council has been interesting with getting great grants for cat containment, and we've done some great work in the past. It would be lovely to see us getting something again. In all honesty, Councillor Ethan, I'm never a fan of 1,000 noting of things. Oh, sorry, Councillor Hernjack. I'm not in the fan of noting a whole heap of things that ends with right to the ministers. I'd prefer to have that kind of right up there. But with that, that's my comment. Councillor Giltman will like to add something about cats. You can't have a cat motion without...
I love cats.
I know.
A lovely cat killed two of my champion pigeons the other day. Cost me about $50,000. That's what they were worth. But cats are, you know, they're an animal that are very, very hard to keep indoors. We all know that. But what surprises me is, like, if you know, with a dog, or you go to work all week or you go to school all week, you would think that the people would love to have the cat inside, like when you get home. It surprises me that they just let them wander off of a night. But, I mean, my birds were killed during the day, but I just don't know how. I mean, I agree with everything that the councillor is saying here about the cats, to try and keep them, you know, contained as much as possible. But they are very, very, very difficult to keep in. I mean, the place would have to be just locked up completely. But I certainly agree with everything that the councillor is bringing forward here.
Yeah. I would like to just add something. Where I live, there is somebody who has got a great bird aviary right up against their fence, right up against their house, and the windows are open and the cats come in and out into their front yard. It's just fabulous to watch. Councillor Causey, we're keeping it short because we're almost at the end.
Yes, all I want to say is that in actual fact Canberra has introduced legislation now where cats, anybody acquiring a new cat can no longer allow them to roam outside free. So it's being grandfathered, I think that's the term, in, and people build, you know, cages and shelters, and people on the Northern Beaches are already doing that anyway. So it's, you know, it's possible.
Okay, Councillor Hackman.
I didn't want to jump in and be rude, but I wanted to call a point of order on Councillor Giltman because I think he missed an opportunity to say cat amongst the pigeons.
Oh, and with that really bad dad joke...
We love cats, we love dogs.
I would like to declare the meeting closed at 9:39.
Madam Mayor, point of order.
Oh, God, we've got to vote on it. Okay,
Could I have a
all
right of
those in
reply?
favour? No right of reply. Unanimous. Okay, fabulous. Declare the meeting... No, we don't have that one. No, that went through, yep. Sorry, there's no motion, supposedly, on public toilets. Declare the meeting closed at 9:40.